The Force binds all things across the galaxy, connecting every living being in an invisible web of energy and destiny. But what happens when a warrior arrives who was forged not by mystical power, but by genetic enhancement and military discipline? What happens when a soldier trained to fight alien invasions finds himself in a galaxy consumed by civil war? What happens when the Empire's greatest weapon meets a man who has already destroyed far worse? The slip-space rupture shouldn't have been possible. Master Chief Petty Officer John 117 had survived the destruction of Installation 08, the final desperate assault on the Ark, and countless battles against the Covenant's genocidal crusade. He'd been drifting in the Forward Unto Dawn's aft section, preserved in cryo-sleep while Cortana kept watch over the silent darkness of space. The Forerunner artifact they'd activated, a navigation beacon meant to guide UNSC recovery vessels, had instead triggered something ancient and catastrophic. One moment, the ship's fragment drifted through normal space near a dormant Forerunner installation. The next, reality tore itself apart. The cryopod's emergency systems screamed warnings as dimensional barriers collapsed. Physics rewrote itself in ways even Forerunner technology hadn't anticipated. Space folded, twisted, and ultimately shattered. The Forward Unto Dawn's aft section, already crippled, simply ceased to exist in one universe and manifested in another. Master Chief's cryopod ejected automatically, safety protocols engaging as the parent vessel disintegrated under forces no human design structure could withstand. For 3 subjective seconds, John 117 existed between dimensions, consciousness touching something vast and cold and utterly alien. Then the pod breached into normal space with violent decompression, tumbling through a star system none of UNSC's charts had ever recorded. The cryosystem initialized emergency wake protocols. Frost sublimated from Mjolnir Mark VI armor as Chief's enhanced metabolism accelerated from hibernation to combat ready in 40 seconds. His HUD flickered to life, displaying critical information, life support at 18%, pod structural integrity compromised, no friendly IFF signals detected, unknown vessels approaching at high velocity. Chief's hand moved to his MA-5D individual combat weapon system even before his eyes fully focused. Spartan training operated on instinct before conscious thought. Assess. Adapt. Survive. Win. The cryopod had crashed into what appeared to be an asteroid field, massive rocks tumbling through space in lazy orbital patterns around a distant blue-white star. Chief's motion tracker pinged multiple contacts, 7 vessels, configuration unknown, weapons hot. His armor's external sensors picked up communication signals in languages his translation software couldn't immediately parse. Then the first energy bolt struck his pod. It wasn't plasma. Chief had intimate experience with Covenant plasma weapons. This was something else, coherent light weaponry, green in color, less destructive than expected but clearly hostile. The shot punched through the pod's failing hull, venting the last atmosphere into vacuum. Chief kicked free of the cryopod, Mjolnir's fusion reactor providing power to his magnetic boots as he oriented himself in 0G. The approaching vessels resolved on his HUD, angular craft painted gray, smaller than Covenant Banshees but larger than Pelican dropships. They moved with precision suggesting experienced pilots. More energy bolts converged on his position. Chief's shields flared blue as they absorbed the impacts, standard Mjolnir energy shielding, capable of withstanding sustained plasma fire. These primitive directed energy weapons barely registered as threats. But the sheer volume of fire told Chief everything he needed to know. Whoever these people were, they decided he was hostile. Fair assessment, given he'd just arrived in their territory through impossible means. One vessel broke formation, accelerating toward Chief's position with boarding intentions obvious. Through its viewport, Chief saw figures in white armor, humanoid, definitely not Covenant species. They moved with military discipline, weapons trained on his drifting form. The translation software finally parsed enough signal data to provide context. Imperial patrol, hostile vessel detected, prepare for boarding and capture. Imperial. That implied governmental structure, military organization, territorial sovereignty. Chief's tactical assessment compiled instantly. He was trespassing in sovereign space, had arrived without identification or diplomatic clearance, and was now being treated as an enemy combatant. The Spartans had been trained for this scenario, arrival in hostile territory without support. The answer was always the same: survive, gather intelligence, extract when possible. The boarding craft's side hatch opened, explosive decompression venting atmosphere as white armored soldiers prepared to maglock across empty space. Chief counted 12 hostiles, all carrying the same green-bolt weapons. Their armor looked ceremonial rather than functional: smooth plastoid plates with no apparent shield generators, limited mobility articulation, and helmet designs that probably restricted peripheral vision. Not military grade. Security forces, at best. The first soldier launched toward Chief, magnetic grapple trailing. Chief waited until the man was 3 meters away, then activated his thruster pack, minimal fuel remaining, but enough. He vectored sideways, letting the soldier's momentum carry him past, then grabbed the grapple line and pulled. The soldier's surprised shout came through Chief's external audio pickups. Chief reeled him in with enhanced strength that Mjolnir amplified, then simply took the man's weapon. The soldier struggled, poorly trained in zero-G combat. Before Chief disabled him with a precisely controlled strike to the helmet that cracked the plastoid but didn't kill. 11 more soldiers opened fire. Chief's shields absorbed the bolts while he analyzed the captured weapon. Simple design, energy pack magazine, actuator trigger, no safety mechanism. He aimed and fired in one fluid motion. The weapon's recoil was negligible, its bolt velocity impressive, but the damage output underwhelming. Chief put 3 bolts into the nearest soldier's center mass. The white armor scorched and cracked but didn't fully penetrate until the 4th shot. Inadequate personal protection for military combat. These soldiers were equipped for suppressing unarmed civilians, not engaging hardened combatants. Chief switched tactics. He used the disabled soldier as an improvised shield, maglocking to the man's armor while returning fire with borrowed weapons. The remaining soldiers scattered, their formation breaking under disciplined counterattack. 2 more went down before they retreated into their boarding craft. The craft's pilot pulled away, attempting to gain distance. Chief's HUD calculated trajectories, intercept angles, and probability of success. Then he made a decision that would have gotten him court-martialed in any UNSC chain of command: he jumped. Mjolnir's thrusters fired, propelling Chief across 30 meters of hard vacuum toward the retreating craft. His shields absorbed micrometeor impacts as he flew through the asteroid field's debris. The boarding craft's pilot saw him coming, too late. Chief's armored fist struck the hull with force that crumpled the thin metal plating. He tore through the hull manually, Mjolnir's strength enhancements turning him into a one-man breaching tool. Atmosphere vented explosively around him as he pulled himself inside. The remaining soldiers panicked, their training clearly hadn't covered hostile borders with personal armor superior to their ship's hull. Chief moved through the craft with brutal efficiency. Disarm, disable, neutralize. Not kill, these soldiers were following orders, defending their territory from what they perceived as a threat. The UNSC rules of engagement were clear: minimize casualties when possible, eliminate threats when necessary. In 45 seconds, Chief had control of the boarding craft. The pilot sat frozen at the controls, his white helmet turned toward Chief with what had to be absolute terror. Chief's motion tracker showed the other vessels pulling back, apparently unwilling to risk their comrade's life by opening fire. "Stand down," Chief said, his voice amplified through Mjolnir's external speakers. The translation software worked better now, parsing the pilot's language in real time. "I'm not your enemy. I need information." The pilot's hands shook as he raised them. "Why your Rebel Alliance? Some kind of new commando?" Rebel Alliance. Another faction, apparently opposed to these Imperials. Chief filed the information away. "No. I'm UNSC. Master Chief Petty Officer, Service Number 117. I arrived here by accident. I need to know where I am and how to contact my command. UNSC. The pilot's confusion was evident even through his helmet's vocoder. Never heard of it. You're in the Horus system, Imperial space, Outer Rim territories. And you just assaulted an Imperial patrol. That's a death sentence, no matter what faction you're from. Imperial space. Outer Rim. None of it matched any UNSC star charts, any Covenant territory maps, any Forerunner records Chief had encountered. The implications were staggering, but Chief's Spartan discipline kept emotion from interfering with tactical assessment. Take me to the nearest inhabited planet, Chief ordered. Somewhere I can access information networks and communication systems. And tell your command that I'll surrender the captured personnel unharmed if they don't pursue. The pilot hesitated, clearly weighing his options. Then one of the other vessels transmitted, TIE boarding craft 779er, this is Patrol Commander. New orders from Imperial Command. The hostile is to be captured alive if possible, eliminated if necessary. Grand Moff Tarkin has declared him a priority threat. Do not negotiate. All units, weapons free. Chief's shields flared as multiple vessels opened fire simultaneously. The boarding craft shuddered under the assault, alarms screaming as hull integrity collapsed. Chief made a split-second decision. He grabbed the pilot, mag-locked him to his armor, and kicked through the weakened hull into open space. The boarding craft exploded behind them, a brief flower of flame and debris quickly extinguished by vacuum. Chief's HUD tracked the incoming vessels, 7 of them now, all converging on his position with clear hostile intent. His thrusters were nearly depleted. His shields were at 60% and dropping with each hit. He had 1 fragmentation grenade, 1 half-depleted energy weapon, and no backup. Standard odds for a Spartan. Chief activated his emergency beacon, not that anyone in UNSC space could possibly receive it, but protocol was protocol. Then he oriented himself toward the nearest large asteroid and fired his thrusters one last time. The rock's surface rushed up to meet him. Chief hit hard, his shields absorbing the impact as he skidded across ancient stone. The pursuing craft swooped overhead, their weapons carving gouges in the asteroid's surface. Chief rolled into a crater, using the terrain for cover while his shields regenerated. Welcome to the Empire, his HUD seemed to say. Population, hostile. Threat level, maximum. Survival probability, acceptable. Master Chief had fought genocidal aliens, rampant AI, and Forerunner war machines. He'd stopped Halo rings from destroying all sentient life in the galaxy. He'd saved humanity more times than ONI probably had clearance to know about. One Galactic Empire shouldn't be too difficult. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The asteroid's surface was silent except for the vibrations of approaching starfighters transmitted through stone. Master Chief's motion tracker painted a tactical picture, 7 craft circling his position at varying altitudes, searching for visual confirmation. They were methodical but predictable, standard search patterns without innovation or adaptation to an opponent who'd already demonstrated superior combat capability. Chief used the 30-second respite to assess his situation. The captured Imperial weapon, his HUD identified it as an E-11 blaster rifle based on energy signature analysis, had approximately 40% charge remaining. His own ammunition was precious, 1 magazine for his M6 Magnum sidearm, no MA5 assault rifle, lost with the Forward Unto Dawn's wreckage, 2 fragmentation grenades, and 1 combat knife. Mjolnir's shields had regenerated to full, his fusion reactor stable, but his thruster fuel was gone. The captured Imperial pilot was unconscious but alive, secured to Chief's back via maglocks. Insurance, and potentially a source of intelligence if Chief survived long enough to conduct interrogation. One of the circling craft, smaller than the boarding vessel, angular with distinctive hexagonal solar panels, descended toward his crater. Through gaps in the rock, Chief watched it maneuver with impressive agility despite lacking visible atmospheric control surfaces. The pilot was skilled, using repulsor technology Chief's armor sensors struggled to fully analyze. A voice crackled through the pilot's comms unit, TK, 421, your beacon's not responding. Report status. Chief held the captured comms closer. The pilot's designation. Useful. TK, 421, respond. Are you in position? Chief's translation software had fully adapted now. Parsing Galactic Basic with near-perfect accuracy. He activated the comms. TK, 421 is compromised. I have your man. Call off the attack, and he lives. A different voice responded, older, carrying authority that suggested senior command. This is ISB Agent Callus, Imperial Security Bureau. You've assaulted Imperial forces in sovereign territory. Surrender immediately, and you will be processed according to Imperial law. Resist, and your execution will be swift. I didn't assault anyone, Chief replied, his tone flat and factual. Your forces opened fire on a disabled vessel. I defended myself. I'm not Rebel Alliance or any faction you recognize. I'm military personnel from outside your territory, displaced by accident. I don't want conflict. I want information and a way to contact my command. A pause. Chief's motion tracker showed the circling craft adjusting positions, tightening the noose. Callus was stalling, keeping him talking while maneuvering for a kill shot. Your technology is unlike anything in Imperial records, Callus said, his tone shifting to professional curiosity beneath the threat. That armor, those weapons, your combat capabilities, you're not from the Outer Rim colonies, not from any system we've catalogued. Where are you really from? That's classified, Chief responded, buying himself time to calculate escape vectors. The asteroid field extended for thousands of kilometers. If he could reach one of the larger asteroids, find stable ground and defensible terrain, he could survive until these Imperials exhausted their resources or he found alternative extraction. Then you'll remain classified in an Imperial detention facility until you decide to cooperate. Final warning, surrender, or we disable your armor through overwhelming force. We've analyzed your shield technology, impressive, but not invincible. Concentrated fire will breach it. Chief's HUD agreed with that assessment. Mjolnir shields could withstand sustained plasma fire. But even Spartan armor had limits. 7 craft focusing fire simultaneously would overwhelm his defenses within 90 seconds. Time for a different approach. Agent Callus, Chief said, his voice carrying the command authority of someone who'd led Spartan teams through impossible odds. You've lost 1 boarding craft and sustained casualties. You can lose more soldiers trying to capture me, or you can let me reach inhabited space where I'll gather information and leave your territory peacefully. I have no interest in your empire or your conflicts. I'm searching for a way home. That's all. And you expect me to believe a warrior with your capabilities has no agenda? You've already demonstrated you're a threat to Imperial security. You'll be contained, your technology will be studied, and you'll be interrogated by specialists who are very good at extracting information. The craft tightened their formation. Chief's motion tracker detected weapons powering up, targeting solutions converging on his crater. They'd finished their tactical discussion. Now came the execution phase. Chief activated the 2 fragmentation grenades, set them for remote detonation, and threw them in opposite directions across the asteroid's surface. The motion tracker painted their trajectories as they tumbled through microgravity, settling into positions 40 meters apart. The Imperial craft reacted immediately, sensors detecting the explosives. 3 vessels broke formation to investigate, apparently concerned about larger weapons caches. Military paranoia working to Chief's advantage. The moment the formation broke, Chief moved. He burst from the crater with enhanced strength that launched him across the asteroid's surface in low-gravity bounds. Each leap covered 30 meters, Mjolnir's strength amplification turning him into a kinetic projectile. The nearest craft swiveled, pilot reacting with impressive speed, but Chief was already in motion. He detonated the first grenade. The explosion was spectacular in vacuum, a brief expanding sphere of shrapnel and force that caught one of the investigating craft at close range. The vessel's shields flared and failed, debris punching through thin hull plating. The craft spiraled out of control, its pilot fighting to stabilize as atmosphere vented. Chief detonated the second grenade as he reached the asteroid's edge. This one served as distraction rather than damage. Another craft veered off, its pilot convinced Chief was using the explosions as cover for some larger escape plan. Then Chief simply jumped into open space. Without thrusters, without a spacecraft, with nothing but his armor and the unconscious Imperial pilot mag locked to his back, Master Chief Petty Officer John 117 launched himself into the asteroid field's chaotic environment and trusted in Spartan training and that intangible quality Cortana had always called his luck. The remaining craft hesitated, just for 2 seconds, apparently unable to process the tactical insanity of voluntarily entering hard vacuum with no propulsion. Those 2 seconds gave Chief enough time to grab a tumbling piece of debris from the destroyed boarding craft and use it as an improvised shield. Green energy bolts converged on his position. Chief's shields absorbed what they could while he oriented the debris to deflect the rest. He was falling, no, drifting, through the asteroid field at approximately 40 meters per second, his trajectory calculated by instinct and years of zero-G combat training. A massive asteroid loomed ahead, its surface scarred by millennia of micro-impacts. Chief adjusted his position fractionally, using the debris as both shield and attitude control. The craft pursued, their pilots now committed to the engagement despite the tactical disadvantage of fighting in a debris field that threatened their vessels as much as their target. Chief's HUD calculated impact in 15 seconds. At his current velocity and angle, he'd hit hard even for Mjolnir's shock absorption. But there, a crater, approximately 60 meters across, deep enough to provide cover if he could land inside it. 10 seconds. The craft were closing, their weapons tearing through his makeshift shield. Chief's shields dropped to 40%, 30, 20. Warning indicators flashed across his HUD as systems strained under sustained fire. 5 seconds. Chief released the debris and spread his arms and legs, maximizing surface area to create drag against the thin particle field that existed between asteroids. Not much, but enough to slow his tumbling fractionally. Impact. Chief hit the asteroid's surface at an angle, his shields flaring bright blue and failing completely as they absorbed the kinetic energy. He rolled, his enhanced physiology and armor's gel layer protecting him from what would have killed an unaugmented human. The crater's rim rushed past as momentum carried him forward, then down into the depression. He slammed into the crater floor, his HUD flickering as systems rebooted from the impact shock. Warning lights lit up his display, shields offline regenerating, armor integrity at 85%, left pauldron damaged, motion tracker temporarily disrupted. But he was alive, he had cover, and the Imperial craft couldn't follow him into the crater without risk of collision. Chief's shields began their recharge cycle, 12 seconds to full capacity if uninterrupted. He positioned himself behind a boulder that provided cover from aerial attack while his motion tracker came back online. The pilot on his back groaned, regaining consciousness. Chief felt the man's breathing change, heard the sharp intake of breath that meant awareness returning. "Stay still," Chief ordered. "You're not in immediate danger unless you do something stupid." You're insane," the pilot gasped, his vocoder distorting the terror in his voice. "You jumped into open space without a ship. That's suicide." "Worked," Chief replied simply. His motion tracker showed the Imperial craft regrouping, holding position above the crater. They'd learned caution, good. That meant they'd approach more carefully, which gave Chief time to think. "Why are you doing this?" the pilot asked. "If you'd just surrendered, they'd have processed you, maybe even released you if you're really not Rebel Alliance. Now you've assaulted Imperial forces, destroyed military property, taken a hostage. They'll never stop hunting you." "I don't surrender," Chief said, checking his captured E-11 blaster. The charge was down to 20%. Not enough for a sustained firefight. I need information. What's the nearest inhabited world? Somewhere with spaceports, communication networks, diverse population. You're not going to make it off this asteroid, the pilot replied. Even if you somehow fight past the patrol, there are star destroyers in this sector. Capital ships with turbolaser batteries that can glass entire asteroids. You can't fight that. I fought worse, Chief said, and it was true. He'd stood on the hull of a Covenant assault carrier in orbit and manually destroyed its engines. He'd boarded High Charity at the height of the flood infestation. He'd activated Halo rings and survived to tell about it. One Empire and their capital ships were just another obstacle. His shields completed regeneration. His motion tracker stabilized fully. And in the distance, Chief's sensors detected something new, a larger vessel approaching. Not another patrol craft, this one was massive, wedge-shaped, its energy signature dwarfing everything else in the asteroid field. The pilot felt Chief tense. That's an Imperial Star Destroyer. They've called in capital ship support. You're not just a priority threat anymore, you're a crisis. They're going to quarantine this entire system until you're contained. Chief's HUD analyzed the approaching vessel, 1,600 meters long, bristling with weapons. Carrying what his database estimated were thousands of personnel and dozens of smaller craft. A weapons platform and troop transport combined, designed to project overwhelming force across entire star systems. One Spartan against a star destroyer. Cortana would have calculated the odds at less than 3% survival probability. She would have recommended immediate extraction, strategic withdrawal, anything but direct confrontation. But Cortana wasn't here. And Master Chief had never been good at following odds. He studied the Star Destroyer's approach vector, analyzing its tactics, its vulnerabilities, its command structure. And slowly, beneath his helmet where no one could see, John 1:17 allowed himself the ghost of a smile. Spartans didn't surrender. They adapted. They overcame. They won. And this empire was about to learn what that meant. The Imperial Star Destroyer Relentless hung in space like a dagger pointed at Chief's position, its gray hull reflecting the distant star's cold light. Through his armor's sensors, Chief counted 72 turbolaser batteries, multiple tractor beam projectors, and launch bays disgorging TIE fighters, 20 of them, forming attack formations with military precision that suggested experienced pilots and proper command structure. This wasn't a security patrol. This was an Imperial military response. Agent Callus's voice crackled through the captured comms, "Attention hostile combatant. You are surrounded by Imperial forces with authorization to use lethal force. The Relentless has trained all weapons on your position. Surrender within 60 seconds, or this asteroid will be reduced to dust with you on it." Chief's HUD calculated blast radius, energy dispersal patterns, and survival probability. A sustained turbolaser barrage would indeed vaporize the asteroid. Mjolnir shields wouldn't protect him from that level of destructive force, he'd be atomized along with several billion tons of rock. But they hadn't fired yet. Which meant they still wanted him alive, or at least wanted his technology intact. Your 60 seconds are counting down, Callus continued. 45 seconds. We know you're monitoring this frequency. Respond, or face termination. The captured pilot shifted against Chief's back. Please, the man whispered. I have a family. A daughter on Coruscant. Don't let them kill me because you're too stubborn to surrender. Chief felt the weight of that, not physical weight, but moral weight. The UNSC had rules about hostages, about civilian casualties, about proportional response. This pilot was following orders, defending his territory from what appeared to be a legitimate threat. He didn't deserve to die for doing his duty. 30 seconds, Callus announced. Chief made his decision. He released the maglocks holding the pilot, gently pushing him away across the crater floor. Get to cover. When they come for me, stay down and don't interfere. The pilot stared at him through his helmet's visor, confusion evident in his body language. "You're letting me go." "I'm not your enemy," Chief replied. "You were just in the wrong place when I arrived. Now get to cover." "That's an order." The pilot scrambled away, mag boots activating to anchor him behind a boulder 50 meters distant. Chief stood alone in the crater, his armor's shields at full capacity, his remaining weapons ready, facing impossible odds with the same calm determination he'd brought to every battle since he was 14 years old. 15 seconds, Callus warned. "This is your final." Chief activated the external speakers. "I'm coming out. Don't fire. I'm not surrendering, but I'm willing to talk. Face to face, your representative and me. Neutral ground. If we can reach an understanding, there's no need for more casualties." A pause. Chief imagined Callus conferring with the Star Destroyer's captain, debating whether this was genuine negotiation or tactical deception. "You're in no position to dictate terms," Callus finally responded. "I destroyed one of your craft, disabled several others, and evaded everything you've thrown at me using minimal resources. I'm a military specialist with capabilities your empire hasn't encountered before. You can destroy this asteroid and lose all opportunity to understand what I am and where I came from. Or you can talk to me, learn what I know, and possibly gain intelligence that benefits your strategic position." Chief was gambling that the Empire's command structure valued intelligence over immediate tactical victories. Every military organization he'd encountered, UNSC, Covenant, even the Flood's crude collective intelligence, prioritized information about new threats. Another pause, longer this time. Then a new voice emerged from the comms, deeper, carrying absolute authority. "This is Captain Brunson of the Imperial Star Destroyer Relentless. Your proposal is acceptable. You will proceed to coordinates transmitting now. A shuttle will meet you. Any hostile action will result in immediate termination." "Understood." "Understood," Chief confirmed. The coordinates appeared on his HUD, a larger asteroid 3 kilometers away, flat surface suitable for landing craft. Chief studied the tactical situation, 20 TIE fighters maintaining perimeter, the Star Destroyer holding position with weapons locked on him, multiple smaller patrol craft scattered throughout the asteroid field. He began moving, leaping across the crater's surface in low-gravity bounds. His motion tracker painted every hostile contact, his threat assessment running continuously. One wrong move from either side, one trigger-happy pilot, and this diplomatic approach would collapse into firefight. The journey across open space between asteroids was tense. Chief used fragments of destroyed craft and natural debris as handholds, pulling himself along vectors his HUD calculated for optimal efficiency. TIE fighters shadowed his progress, their twin ion engines humming with barely restrained aggression. Chief reached the designated asteroid and landed on its surface, his magnetic boots locking to the stone. The location was exposed, no cover, perfect killing ground if the Empire decided to terminate negotiations. Which meant they were either genuinely interested in dialogue, or setting up an elaborate capture operation. A Lambda-class shuttle descended from the Star Destroyer, its wings folding upward as it settled onto the asteroid with landing struts extended. The boarding ramp lowered with mechanical precision, atmosphere venting briefly before the ship's shields equalized pressure. 4 figures emerged. The first was Agent Callus, tall, lean, wearing a gray Imperial Security Bureau uniform with military precision. His face was sharp, intelligent, calculating. He carried an electrostaff weapon, its ends crackling with energy that suggested lethality against unshielded targets. Behind Callus came 2 soldiers in armor unlike the Stormtroopers Chief had encountered. This armor was black, more streamlined, with integrated equipment that suggested elite status. Their weapons, larger blasters with enhanced power packs, tracked Chief's every movement with professional discipline. Death Troopers. Chief's threat assessment tagged them as high-priority combatants. The 4th figure made Chief's threat indicators spike, a human male in Imperial officer's uniform, but his presence radiated something Chief had never encountered before. Not force sensitivity, Chief didn't have midichlorians to sense such things, but his Spartan instinct screamed danger. This man was a predator wearing a civilized mask. "I am Agent Callus," the ISB officer announced, his voice matching the comms transmission. "This is Commander DT-7218 and his squad. And this," he gestured to the unsettling officer, "is Inquisitor 7th brother, assigned by Lord Vader personally to assess your nature." The Inquisitor said nothing, his eyes studying Chief with intensity that felt invasive. Chief's armor registered unusual energy fluctuations around the man, not technological, but something else entirely. "You wanted to talk," Callus continued. "So talk. Explain what you are, where you came from, and why the Empire should view you as anything other than a threat requiring elimination." Chief stood motionless, his armor's systems recording everything. "I'm Master Chief Petty Officer John 117, UNSC Navy Special Warfare Command. I'm a Spartan II Supersoldier, genetically enhanced and trained from childhood for military operations. I was displaced from my universe during a dimensional anomaly caused by Forerunner technology. I don't know how I arrived here, and I don't know how to return. I have no agenda regarding your empire or your conflicts. I'm trying to gather information and find a way home. UNSC. Spartan. Forerunner." Callus repeated the words as if testing them. "None of these terms appear in any Imperial database. You claim to be from another universe entirely?" "I don't claim. I'm stating fact. Your technology, your species distribution, your political structures, none of it matches anything in UNSC records or Covenant intelligence. This isn't my galaxy." The Inquisitor finally spoke, his voice carrying subtle threat. "I sense no force within you. You are empty, hollow. Yet you fight with capabilities that rival force-enhanced warriors. How?" "Genetic augmentation," Chief explained. "Carbide ceramic bone grafts for unbreakable skeletal structure. Muscular enhancement proteins for increased strength. Catalytic thyroid implant for enhanced reflexes. Occipital capillary reversal for improved vision. And training, decades of combat experience against threats that would exterminate your entire species if they reached this galaxy." "Threats?" Callus's interest sharpened. "What threats?" "The Covenant, a theocratic alliance of alien species with plasma weapons, energy shields, and religious fervor to exterminate humanity. The Flood, a parasitic hive mind that converts all biological life into combat forms and has consumed entire civilizations. The Forerunners, an ancient race whose automated defense systems can sterilize all sentient life in the galaxy." Chief watched their reactions carefully. Callus showed professional skepticism. The Death Troopers remained impassive behind their helmets. But the Inquisitor's eyes widened fractionally, recognition, perhaps, or understanding that Chief was describing extinction-level threats beyond the Empire's experience. "And you fought these? Covenant and Flood?" Callus asked. "I survived them. With my fellow Spartans, with UNSC military support, with allies we forged along the way. The Covenant War lasted 30 years. The Flood outbreak nearly destroyed everything. The Forerunner crisis could have activated weapons that eliminate all sentient life in the galaxy. I was there for all of it." Silence. The Death Troopers exchanged glances through their helmets. Callus processed the information with visible calculation. The Inquisitor circled Chief slowly, his unsettling presence probing without physical touch. "Your armor. It's not just protection, it's a weapon system. I can feel the energy within it, contained but ready. You could kill everyone here before we could react." "Yes," Chief said simply. No point lying about capabilities they'd already witnessed. "Then why haven't you?" the Inquisitor demanded. "Because you're not my enemy. You're soldiers following orders, defending your territory. I respect that. The UNSC taught me to discriminate between legitimate military targets and unnecessary casualties. You haven't committed atrocities in my presence. You're not genocidal aliens trying to exterminate my species. You're just doing your job. Kallus nodded slowly. And if we decide your presence is too dangerous to tolerate? If the Empire orders your termination? Then I'll defend myself, Chief replied without hesitation. And you'll discover exactly how effective Spartan training and Mjolnir armor are in sustained combat. I don't want that outcome. But I won't surrender just to make your job easier. The standoff stretched for 10 seconds. Then Kallus made a decision. Captain Brunson, this is Agent Kallus. Stand down from combat alert. The hostile is cooperating. He turned back to Chief. You'll accompany us to an Imperial facility where specialists can verify your claims. If your technology is genuine, if your origins check out, the Empire may have use for someone with your capabilities. If you're lying, you'll be executed. Acceptable? Chief's HUD calculated risks. Going with them meant potential imprisonment, interrogation, possibly vivisection. If the Empire decided his augmentations were worth studying. Refusing meant immediate combat against overwhelming force. But the Empire had infrastructure, databases, communication networks. If Chief was going to find information about dimensional anomalies or Forerunner technology in this galaxy, Imperial resources were his best option. One condition, Chief said. The pilot I captured earlier, TK-421. You guarantee his safety. He was just doing his duty. He doesn't deserve punishment for my actions. Kallus's expression softened almost imperceptibly. Agreed. The pilot will be debriefed and returned to duty with commendation for surviving your engagement. Then I'll cooperate, Chief confirmed. But understand, I'm not your prisoner. I'm choosing to work with you because it serves my objective. The moment I determine the Empire is hostile to my mission, that cooperation ends. Noted, Kallus replied. Though I suspect you'll find the Empire can be very persuasive when it wants cooperation. As Chief walked toward the shuttle, the Inquisitor fell into step beside him. You interest me, Spartan. A warrior without the Force, yet you survive what should kill you. Lord Vader will want to meet you personally. He appreciates exceptional combatants. Chief said nothing, but his threat assessment tagged this Vader as someone to watch carefully. Anyone who commanded Force users and merited personal mention was either political leadership or legitimate threat. The shuttle lifted off, carrying Master Chief toward whatever Imperial facility Kallus had in mind. Behind them, the Relentless maintained position, its weapons tracking the shuttle's progress with mechanical precision. Chief had bought himself time and access to Imperial resources. But he'd also placed himself directly in the Empire's hands, trusting that his capabilities would keep him alive long enough to gather intelligence. It was a calculated risk. Spartan specialized in those. And as the shuttle entered hyperspace, that impossible faster-than-light travel his sensors struggled to comprehend, Chief began planning his next moves. He was alone in hostile territory, without UNSC support, without fellow Spartans, without certainty he'd ever reach home. But he was alive. He was mobile. And he was gathering intelligence. That was enough. For now. The Imperial facility on Lothal was a sprawling complex of durasteel and paranoia, garrison towers, detention blocks, industrial manufacturing centers, and administrative buildings all surrounded by shield generators and anti-aircraft batteries. From the shuttle's viewport, Chief observed clone patterns of totalitarian architecture, intimidating, functional, designed to project power rather than serve populations. He'd seen it before. The Covenant had built similar structures on conquered human worlds. The URF separatists had fortified their bases with comparable paranoia. Tyranny always looked the same, regardless of species or galaxy. The shuttle landed in a secured hangar bay where 24 stormtroopers stood in formation, weapons ready but not aimed, a show of force without immediate threat. Agent Kallus led Chief down the ramp, the Inquisitor and Death Troopers maintaining close escort. You'll be housed in a secured facility while we verify your claims, Callus explained as they walked through corridors lined with Imperial propaganda posters. The armor stays with you for now. Our technicians have determined that attempting forced removal would likely trigger defensive protocols that could level this entire building. Smart assessment. Mjolnir's security systems included lethal countermeasures against unauthorized tampering. Chief had once seen a jackal try to strip armor from a dead Spartan. The subsequent explosion had vaporized everything within 20 meters. Where are we? Chief asked, his HUD recording every detail: guard positions, security cameras, structural weak points, escape routes. Lot Hal. Outer Rim agricultural world with growing industrial capacity. The Empire maintains a presence here to ensure productivity and suppress dissident activity. Callus glanced at Chief. Rebel Alliance has been active in this sector. Your arrival timing is suspicious. Coincidence, Chief replied. I don't even know what Rebel Alliance is beyond the name. Terrorists and traitors attempting to destabilize legitimate government, Callus said with the conviction of a true believer. They claim to fight for freedom, but they're anarchists who'd plunge the galaxy into chaos given the opportunity. The Empire brings order, security, and prosperity to trillions. Chief had heard similar rhetoric before. Every authoritarian regime justified itself through promises of security and stability. The question was always, at what cost, and for whose benefit? They entered an observation room, transparent steel walls on 3 sides, advanced monitoring equipment, a single chair that looked more like an interrogation device than furniture. Callus gestured toward it. Sit. Our specialists will conduct preliminary scans. Nothing invasive, yet. But we need to understand what you are before determining how the Empire should respond to your presence. Chief remained standing. I'll cooperate with non-invasive examination. Anything else requires negotiation. The Inquisitor circled the room, his unsettling presence radiating predatory interest. Your defiance is refreshing. Most beings cower before Imperial authority. You treat it as merely another obstacle to navigate. Tell me, Spartan, do you fear death? I've accepted it, Chief replied simply. Every mission could be my last. Fear doesn't change that reality. Fascinating, the Inquisitor murmured. A warrior at peace with mortality. Lord Vader will find you, intriguing. Before Chief could respond, alarms shrieked throughout the facility. Red emergency lighting flooded the corridors. Callus's comlink crackled with urgent transmissions. All units, code red. Rebel attack on the southern perimeter. Multiple craft inbound, ground forces deploying. This is not a drill. Callus swore, his professional composure cracking. The Ghost crew. They've chosen the worst possible moment, he focused on Chief. You stay here under Death Trooper guard. If this is coordinated. If you're part of their operation. I'm not, Chief interrupted. But if your facility is under attack, I can help defend it. Give me a weapon and clear rules of engagement. Absolutely not, Callus snapped. You're still a threat assessment in progress. Commander, secure the prisoner. I'm moving to coordinate defense. He rushed from the room, already barking orders into his comlink. The Inquisitor lingered, studying Chief with those predatory eyes. The rebels will attempt to free prisoners, sabotage Imperial operations, and escape before overwhelming force can respond. Standard tactics. But if they encounter you? He smiled coldly. That would be educational for everyone involved. Then he too departed, leaving Chief alone with 4 Death Troopers whose weapons never wavered from combat-ready positions. Chief's motion tracker painted the tactical situation through the facility's walls and floors. Explosions rocked the southern perimeter, shaped charges, precise placement, military-grade demolitions. The attacking force was small but professional, 6, maybe 7 individuals moving with coordinated efficiency that suggested extensive training. Not terrorists. Soldiers. His external audio pickups caught the sounds of battle, blaster fire, shouted orders, the distinctive whine of TIE fighter engines launching to intercept. Through the observation room's transparent steel walls, Chief watched stormtroopers rushing to defensive positions while officers coordinated response from command centers. Then his motion tracker detected something unexpected, 3 contacts moving through the facility's ventilation system, approaching his location from above. They were fast, agile, and clearly knew the facility's layout intimately. The Death Troopers' sensors caught it too. Their weapons tilted upward, targeting the ceiling panels. One spoke in a language Chief's translation software struggled with, encrypted military communication between elite units. The ceiling panel exploded inward. 3 figures dropped into the observation room with acrobatic precision, a Mandalorian female in customized armor with multicolored paint, a Lazat male with massive physical stature wielding a bow rifle, and a teenage human female with short dark hair and determined eyes holding a blaster. The Mandalorian's wrist-mounted weapons deployed instantly. Death Troopers. Sabine, left flank. Zeb, take right. And who the hell? She stopped mid-sentence, her helmet's visor locking onto Chief. Even through Mandalorian armor, her confusion was palpable. What is that? New Imperial Super Trooper. Chief assessed the situation in microseconds, rebel forces engaging Death Troopers, clearly assuming he was imprisoned by the Empire, treating him as potential ally or at minimum not an immediate threat. The Death Troopers opened fire, their enhanced blasters lighting up the room with green energy bolts. The Mandalorian, Sabine, activated a personal shield that absorbed the hits while returning fire with twin blaster pistols. The Lazat, Zeb, charged with his bow rifle crackling with electrical energy, meeting one Death Trooper in close combat with brutal effectiveness. The teenage girl, probably the Sabine mentioned, dove behind equipment, her shots precise and measured. Chief made his decision. He moved. Mjolnir's enhanced speed turned him into a blur of motion. He crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbed a Death Trooper's weapon mid-fire, and redirected the barrel toward the ceiling. The surprised trooper tried to compensate, but Chief Spartan strength wrenched the weapon free and delivered a precise strike to the helmet that cracked the armor and disabled the soldier without killing him. 2 more Death Troopers pivoted to engage Chief, their tactical assessment instantly recognizing him as the greater threat. Their weapons tracked with professional precision. Shots aimed at Mjolnir's joints and helmet, weak points any competent soldier would target. Chief's shields absorbed 3 direct hits, dropping to 70%. He threw the captured weapon at one trooper, the projectile striking with enough force to stagger the elite soldier. Before the man could recover, Chief closed distance and delivered a controlled strike that disabled without lethal force. The final Death Trooper faced impossible odds. Rebels attacking from 3 directions, an armored giant who just disabled 3 of his squad mates in under 10 seconds, and no reinforcements available. He made the tactically sound decision, activated a flashbang grenade and retreated through the door, sealing it behind him with emergency lockdown protocols. In the sudden silence following the flashbang's dissipation, 3 rebels stared at Master Chief with visible confusion. Sabine's weapons remained trained on him. Okay, seriously, what are you? You just took down 3 Death Troopers like it was nothing, but you're definitely not Imperial standard. Master Chief Petty Officer John, 117, Chief replied, his hands visible and non-threatening. UNSC military. I'm not Imperial, and I'm not your rebel alliance. I was brought here against my will for interrogation. UNSC. Zeb growled, his bow rifle still crackling with energy. Never heard of it. You're not from the core, outer rim, or anywhere I recognize. Where are you really from? Different universe, Chief said simply. Long story, no time to explain. Are you evacuating prisoners or conducting sabotage? The teenage girl lowered her weapon fractionally. Both. We hit Imperial facilities, free who we can, destroy what we can't take. But the garrison's responding faster than usual, they were already on high alert when we arrived. She studied Chief with sharp intelligence. Because of you. Your Y security was elevated. Probably, Chief confirmed. Which means your mission is compromised. You should extract before Imperial reinforcements arrive. Sabine laughed, though her weapons never wavered. Extract. Karabast, we're already committed. Our ships on the southern perimeter picking up freed prisoners. We were sent to check detention blocks and, she gestured at Chief. Apparently find whatever this is. Chief's motion tracker showed Imperial forces converging on their position, 24 Stormtroopers, at DP Walker support, and that unsettling Inquisitor returning with clear hostile intent. The rebels had maybe 90 seconds before being overwhelmed. Your exfiltration route is about to be cut off, Chief informed them. Imperial forces are moving to surround this section. You'll need alternate extraction. He's right, Zeb confirmed, checking his own sensors. Bucketheads are boxing us in. Sabine, call Hera, we need aerial pickup. Sabine activated her comlink. Ghost, this is Spectre, 5. We're compromised at the detention block. Need hot extraction, coordinates transmitting, wait, stand by. She focused on Chief. You're coming with us. Anyone the Empire wants this badly has intelligence value. Plus, you fight like a Mandalorian on spice. We could use that. I'm not joining your rebellion, Chief stated. I have my own mission. Sure, fine, whatever. But right now, staying here means Imperial interrogation, probable dissection, and definitely no freedom to pursue that mission. Come with us, and at least you'll have options. Sabine's helmet tilted. Plus, you just helped us take down Death Troopers. That makes you Imperial hostile whether you like it or not. They'll never stop hunting you now. Chief's tactical assessment confirmed her logic. He'd assaulted Imperial forces, destroyed their property, demonstrated capabilities that threatened their security paradigm, and now aided rebel operations. The Empire would classify him as maximum priority hostile. Cooperation with rebels didn't mean ideological alignment, just tactical alliance of convenience until better options emerged. Understood, Chief agreed. What's the extraction plan? Follow us, stay close, and try not to get killed, Zeb said cheerfully, his bow rifle deployed. Standard rebel operating procedure. They moved through the facility with coordinated efficiency, Sabine providing demolition expertise to breach sealed doors, Zeb clearing rooms with his bow rifle's devastating firepower, and the teenage girl, Ezra, Chief learned through their comms chatter, demonstrating surprising combat capability for someone so young. Chief took point, his motion tracker and threat assessment guiding them around Imperial patrols and through optimal routes. His presence transformed the rebel cell from guerrilla operators into a genuine military strike team, his Spartan training, MJOLNIR sensors, and decades of combat experience creating tactical advantages the rebels immediately leveraged. They encountered Stormtrooper resistance in the main corridor, a full platoon with heavy weapons emplacements. Chief's assessment calculated 73% casualties if the rebels engaged directly. Hold position, Chief ordered, his command voice cutting through the chaos. Sabine, can you create a distraction? Zeb, prepare to flank right on my signal. Ezra, cover R6, I'm detecting additional contacts converging from behind. The rebels followed his orders without question, recognizing competent leadership when they encountered it. Sabine deployed smoke grenades and explosive charges. Zeb positioned for flanking maneuver. Ezra took defensive position with blaster ready. Chief activated his last fragmentation grenade and threw it with Spartan precision. The explosion disrupted the Stormtrooper formation, smoke and confusion creating the opening rebels needed. Zeb charged through with bow rifle crackling, Chief provided covering fire with a captured E-11 blaster. And Sabine's demolition expertise collapsed a support column that forced the Stormtroopers to retreat or be crushed. They burst onto an exterior platform where a modified VCX-100 light freighter, the Ghost, hovered with boarding ramp extended. A Twi'lek female piloted from the cockpit, her Leku visible through the viewport, while an astromech droid beeped urgently. "Move, move, move," the pilot, Hera, shouted. "Imperial fighters inbound, 30 seconds." The rebels sprinted up the ramp. Chief followed, his enhanced speed allowing him to provide rearguard fire against pursuing stormtroopers. The moment his boots hit the deck, the ramp sealed and the Ghost accelerated with impressive agility. Through the viewport, Chief watched TIE fighters converge, their twin ion engines screaming pursuit. The Ghost weaved through Lothal's industrial structures with piloting skill that impressed even Chief's extensive tactical database. Turbolaser fire from the distant Star Destroyer lit up the atmosphere, missing by margins that suggested either remarkable luck or extraordinary piloting. Probably both. Carabast. Hera swore as the ship shuddered from a near miss. "Whoever you are, big guy, you just made my crew's life a lot more complicated." "Master Chief," Sabine supplied, her helmet now removed to reveal a young woman with artistic flair in her armor's paint scheme. "Says he's from another universe. Took down Death Troopers like training dummies. The Empire was holding him for interrogation." Hera glanced back from the pilot's seat, her green eyes assessing Chief with intelligence and caution. "Another universe. Right. Because our lives weren't weird enough already." The Ghost shuddered again. "Chopper, divert power to rear deflectors. Cannon, we could use some of your Jedi tricks right about now." "Jedi?" Chief's threat assessment spiked. "You have Force users in your crew?" "Long story," a new voice said. A human male emerged from the Ghost's interior, older than the teenage girl, wearing robes that suggested he was the Jedi Hera had called for. His eyes studied Chief with the same unsettling intensity the Inquisitor had displayed. "I'm Canon Jarrus. And you're completely empty in the Force. Not suppressed, not hidden, just absent. Like you don't exist in the cosmic current at all." "Genetic enhancement, not mystical energy," Chief confirmed. "Are we clear of Imperial pursuit?" "Working on it," Hera muttered, executing an aerobatic maneuver that would have killed an unaugmented human from G-force stress. The Ghost dove into Lothal's canyons, using terrain to break targeting solutions. Behind them, TIE fighters followed with relentless precision. The hunters had become the hunted, and Master Chief had just allied with rebels against an empire that now wanted him dead. Standard operating procedure for a Spartan, really. He'd been hunted before. He'd survived worse. This was just another mission in an impossibly long war. The Ghost broke atmosphere with TIE fighters still in pursuit, their twin ion engines screaming through the thinning air. Hera's piloting was exceptional, weaving through debris fields, using Lothal's orbital infrastructure for cover, executing maneuvers that pushed the freighter's inertial compensators to their limits. But 3 TIE fighters remained locked on their tail, their weapons scoring hits against the Ghost's shields with increasing frequency. Shields at 40%, Chopper warbled from his station, the astromech's binary language translated through Chief's armor systems as increasingly profane commentary about Imperial targeting computers. "Cannon, dorsal turret." Hera ordered. "Zeb, ventral. Someone get our new friend somewhere he won't get spaced if we take a hull breach." Chief assessed the tactical situation through his HUD. The Ghost was outgunned but more maneuverable than standard Imperial fighters. The pilot was skilled, but 3-on-1 odds against dedicated interceptors would eventually erode their advantages. They needed to either destroy the pursuit or escape to hyperspace. "What's your armament?" Chief asked, moving toward the dorsal access ladder. 2 dorsal laser cannons, 1 turret below, and a nose gun I'm currently using, Hera replied, banking hard to avoid turbolaser fire from the distant Star Destroyer. "Why?" "I can shoot," Chief stated simply. Cannon paused halfway up the ladder, his Jedi senses apparently providing insight beyond normal perception. "You've used weapons like these before?" "Energy-based directed fire systems. Close enough to Covenant plasma weapons. I'll adapt." He took down 3 Death Troopers in about 10 seconds, Sabine added from where she was bracing against the acceleration. I think he can handle a turret. Cannon nodded and descended. Dorsal position's yours, Chief. Try not to shoot off our deflector array, it's more delicate than it looks. Chief climbed the ladder with enhanced speed, entering the dorsal turret station. The controls were intuitive enough, targeting reticle, trigger mechanism, power distribution, and tracking sensors. Not identical to UNSC weapon systems, but the principles were universal: point at enemy, compensate for motion, fire when solution optimal. He gripped the controls. His HUD integrated with the turret's targeting computer, providing firing solutions and threat assessment. The 3 TIE fighters were executing coordinated attack patterns, 1 high, 2 flanking, rotating positions to prevent the Ghost from focusing fire on a single target. Professional tactics. Experienced pilots. Chief tracked the lead fighter, calculating its vector and velocity. The TIE broke left, anticipating his fire. Chief didn't shoot where it was, he shot where it would be. The laser cannons lit up space with green energy, catching the TIE fighter mid-maneuver. Its shields, weaker than the Ghost's, failed under sustained fire. The fighter's distinctive ball cockpit exploded in a brief flash of atmosphere and debris. Nice shot. Ezra's voice came through the internal comms. You weren't kidding about being able to shoot. The remaining 2 TIE fighters adapted immediately, their formation tightening and their attack patterns becoming more erratic. These pilots had just watched their wingmen die, they wouldn't make the same mistake. Chief tracked the second fighter through a corkscrew maneuver, but held fire. Ammunition discipline was habit even with energy weapons, every shot not guaranteed to hit was a shot wasted. The TIE pilot was good, using the Ghost's bulk as cover, emerging only for brief firing windows. But Chief had fought Banshees, Seraphs, and Covenant fighters that moved faster and hit harder than these Imperial craft. He'd dueled enemy pilots in orbital combat without spacecraft support. He'd boarded enemy vessels in hard vacuum and survived. 2 TIE fighters were just another obstacle. The pilot made his mistake, he emerged from cover a half-second too early, giving Chief the firing window he needed. The dorsal cannons tracked with Mjolnir-enhanced precision, and the second TIE fighter joined the first as expanding debris. 2 down. Zeb's voice carried satisfaction from the ventral turret. 1 more, and we're clear. The final TIE pilot abandoned coordinated tactics for pure aggression, diving straight toward the Ghost in a head-on attack run. Brave, or desperate? Probably both. Chief and Hera fired simultaneously, dorsal cannons and nose gun converging on the incoming fighter. The TIE's shields flared, failed, and the fighter disintegrated under combined fire. Clear. Hera announced. Chopper, calculate jump to hyperspace. Cannon, check for pursuit. Everyone else, buckle in and pray the Empire hasn't deployed interdictor cruisers in this sector. The Ghost accelerated away from Lot Howe, its engines straining toward the safe distance required for hyperspace entry. Chief descended from the turret, his armor's sensors confirming no additional pursuit craft within engagement range. The crew gathered in the common area, a cramped but functional space with seating, a holographic table, and supplies secured against acceleration. They looked at Chief with expressions mixing curiosity, wariness, and grudging respect. Cannon spoke first. So. Master Chief. UNSC military. From another universe. You just helped us escape an Imperial garrison, destroyed 3 TIE fighters, and demonstrated combat capabilities that rival anything I've seen outside Force-enhanced warriors. Now the question is, what do you want, and why should we trust you? Chief removed his helmet, a gesture of good faith he rarely offered. His Spartan features were neutral, scarred, aged by decades of warfare despite the biological preservation his augmentations provided. I want information about dimensional anomalies. Clear. Hera announced. Chopper, calculate jump to hyperspace. Cannon, check for pursuit. Everyone else, Buckle in and pray the Empire hasn't deployed interdictor cruisers in this sector. The Ghost accelerated away from Lot Howe, its engines straining toward the safe distance required for hyperspace entry. Chief descended from the turret, his armor's sensors confirming no additional pursuit craft within engagement range. The crew gathered in the common area, a cramped but functional space with seating, a holographic table, and supplies secured against acceleration. They looked at Chief with expressions mixing curiosity, wariness, and grudging respect. Cannon spoke first. So, Master Chief. UNSC military. From another universe. You just helped us escape an Imperial garrison, destroyed 3 TIE fighters, and demonstrated combat capabilities that rival anything I've seen outside Force-enhanced warriors. Now the question is, what do you want, and why should we trust you? Chief removed his helmet, a gesture of good faith he rarely offered. His Spartan features were neutral, scarred, aged by decades of warfare despite the biological preservation his augmentations provided. I want information about dimensional anomalies, Forerunner or equivalent ancient technology, and access to scientific resources that might help me return to my universe. I don't want to join your rebellion or fight your war. But I won't stand by while innocents suffer, and I won't let tyranny go unchallenged when I have the power to oppose it. Sabine whistled low. You're like a Mandalorian crossed with a Jedi, but without the Force or the cultural baggage. I like it. He's also wanted by the Empire now, Hera pointed out, her tactical mind clearly working through implications. They'll hunt him across every system. That makes him valuable to the rebellion. Anyone the Empire wants dead that badly is someone we should want alive. I'm not a recruitment opportunity, Chief said flatly. I'll cooperate on operations that align with my values. I'll provide tactical support when requested. But I'm not subordinating myself to your command structure or committing to your cause long-term. Fair enough, Cannon conceded. But you should know, the Empire isn't just another tyrannical government. They're backed by Sith Lords who wield the dark side of the Force. Darth Vader alone has killed more Jedi than the rest of the Empire combined. If they're hunting you specifically, you'll face threats beyond conventional military force. I've faced extinction-level threats before, Chief replied. I'll adapt to whatever your Sith Lords represent. Ezra, the teenager who'd been quietly observing, spoke up. You keep mentioning Forerunners. What are they? Ancient civilization that predates humanity by hundreds of thousands of years. They built weapons capable of destroying all sentient life in the galaxy, created AI constructs that persist across millennia, and their technology makes anything humanity's achieved look primitive by comparison. Chief's expression darkened with memory. They're also extinct, destroyed by the very weapons they created to fight the Flood parasite. The Ghost's crew exchanged glances. Zeb scratched his head. Okay, so ancient super-advanced aliens who killed themselves with superweapons. Got it. And you think something like that exists in our galaxy? Unknown, Chief admitted. But the dimensional breach that brought me here involved Forerunner technology. If there's any equivalent ancient civilization in this galaxy, their technology might interact with Forerunner systems in ways that could create another breach. There are ancient civilizations, Cannon said slowly. The Celestials, the Rakata Infinite Empire, the Gree, species that wielded technology we can barely comprehend. Most are extinct or scattered. But their artifacts remain, and the Empire's been systematically cataloging and collecting them. Chief's tactical assessment shifted. Then the Empire has resources I need. Which means at some point, I'll need to infiltrate their research facilities. You just escaped Imperial custody, Hera pointed out. Now you're talking about breaking back in? For intelligence gathering, yes. I need to understand what ancient technology exists in this galaxy and whether any of it can facilitate dimensional travel. Sabine grinned behind her helmet, which she'd replaced after the escape. Okay, I'm officially impressed. Most people we rescue spend weeks recovering from Imperial interrogation. You're already planning your next infiltration mission. The Ghost's hyperdrive engaged with a characteristic lurch, reality compressing as they entered that impossible faster-than-light corridor. Through the viewport, stars stretched into lines, then vanished into the blue-white tunnel of hyperspace. "Where are we going?" Chief asked. "Atollon," Hera replied. "Rebel Alliance base. Hidden, heavily defended, and where we can debrief properly without worrying about Imperial eavesdropping. You'll meet our leadership, Commander Sato, General Dodonna, and probably Mon Mothma herself if she's finished with her political maneuvering on Dantooine. And what do you think they'll do when they meet me? Try to recruit you, obviously," Cannon said with a wry smile. "You're a one-man special forces unit with capabilities that could turn battles single-handedly. Every military commander in the rebellion will want you on their ops. And I'll refuse," Chief stated. "Unless those operations serve my primary objective or prevent unnecessary suffering. I'm not a weapon for your political cause." "Fair," Hera acknowledged. "But consider this, the Empire controls most galactic resources, including research into ancient technologies. If you want access to that information, you'll need allies who can help you infiltrate, extract, and survive Imperial response. The rebellion offers that. Not chains of command, partnership." Chief considered the tactical reality. Alone in this galaxy, he had capabilities but limited resources. No UNSC support, no Spartan backup, no certainty of ever reaching home. The rebellion offered infrastructure, intelligence networks, and operational support in exchange for his combat effectiveness. It was pragmatic alliance, not ideological commitment. "I'll evaluate your leadership's proposal," Chief said finally. "But I make my own decisions about which operations I support. Wouldn't expect anything else from someone who punches death troopers like training dummies," Zeb said cheerfully. The conversation continued, rebels explaining galactic politics, Chief providing limited information about UNSC and Covenant technology, careful exchanges between warriors who'd learned to respect capability while maintaining cautious distance. Sabine was particularly interested in Mjolnir armor specifications. "That shield system, it's not like anything we use. More sophisticated than personal energy shields, faster recharge, better energy distribution. If we could reverse engineer even a fraction of that technology." "You can't," Chief said bluntly. "Mjolnir requires infrastructure your civilization doesn't possess. The materials alone, titanium alloy with refractive coating, hydrostatic gel layer, fusion reactor miniaturization, it took humanity centuries of development and massive resource investment. You're decades away from reproducing it." "Decades?" Sabine sounded offended. "I could probably." "You're talented," Chief interrupted, his tone respectful but firm. "I can tell from your armor modifications and demolition work. But Mjolnir isn't just engineering, it's the culmination of humanity's survival desperation against extinction. You don't build this kind of armor because you want tactical advantages. You build it because without it, your entire species dies." The Ghost fell silent. The weight of that statement, the reality that Chief's equipment represented existential warfare, settled over the crew. Cannon broke the silence. "Your war against the Covenant. Did you win?" Chief's expression remained neutral, but something flickered behind his eyes. "We survived. The Covenant fractured, their leadership eliminated, their holy crusade ended. But the cost?" He paused. "Billions dead. Entire colonies glassed. Spartans killed in action. And new threats emerging from the Covenant's collapse. The war ended, but peace never really came." "Sounds familiar," Hera said quietly. "Our war against the Empire feels endless too. Every victory costs more than we can afford. Every defeat pushes us closer to extinction. Sometimes I wonder if we're just delaying the inevitable." "You're not," Chief stated with absolute conviction. "The Empire has numbers and resources, but they're vulnerable. Overextended supply lines, reliance on fear rather than loyalty, centralized command that creates single points of failure. I've fought worse odds and survived. You can win this war if you fight smart and refuse to surrender. Ezra leaned forward, his young face showing determination beyond his years. You really believe that? Even after everything you've been through? I'm still alive, Chief replied simply. So are you. That means there's still a fight. And where there's a fight, there's hope. The hyperspace journey continued, blue-white light streaming past the viewport. Somewhere in this galaxy, the Empire mobilized to hunt a Spartan who'd challenged their supremacy. Somewhere, ancient technologies waited to be discovered. Somewhere, a dimensional breach might still exist, a pathway home for a soldier who'd never stopped fighting. But for now, Master Chief Petty Officer John 117 rode a rebel ship toward an uncertain alliance, carrying with him the weight of 2 galaxies' wars and the unshakable conviction that surrender was never an option. Spartans didn't give up. They didn't quit. They didn't accept defeat. They adapted. They overcame. They won. And this empire, for all its power, was about to learn exactly what that meant. The rebel base on Adelon was a study in controlled chaos, makeshift hangars carved from coral formations, command centers built into natural cave systems, and defensive positions that suggested desperation disguised as strategic planning. As the Ghost descended through the planet's atmosphere, Chief observed Y-wing bombers, X-wing starfighters, and various freighters arranged with military precision despite the ramshackle appearance. This wasn't UNSC military order. But it was competent resistance, which was more than many underground organizations managed. Commander Jun Sato met them at the landing pad, an older human male with the weathered appearance of someone who'd spent decades fighting losing battles. His eyes carried the weight of command decisions that cost lives, a look Chief recognized from Admiral Hood, Lord Hood, and every UNSC officer who'd sent soldiers to die for necessary objectives. Captain Syndulla reports you're a dimensional refugee with extraordinary combat capabilities, Sato said, his tone professionally neutral. She also reports you destroyed Imperial property, eliminated Death Troopers, and assisted in rebel operations. That makes you either valuable ally or elaborate Imperial infiltrator. I'm neither, Chief replied. I'm UNSC military trying to find a way home. Your war isn't mine, but I won't ignore tyranny when I have power to oppose it. Fair assessment. Sato gestured toward the command center. General Dodonna wants to debrief you. Mon Mothma is en route from Yavin 4, she'll want to evaluate you personally. In the meantime, you're confined to base under security observation. Not imprisonment, but not freedom either. Acceptable, Chief confirmed. The command center was surprisingly sophisticated, holographic tactical displays showing Imperial fleet movements, intelligence reports from dozens of spy networks, and strategic analyses that demonstrated the rebellion had professional military leadership despite their resource. Disadvantages. General Jan Dodonna was the architect of that professionalism, a gray-haired human male whose tactical mind Chief immediately recognized as legitimate expertise. Master Chief, Dodonna greeted, studying Chief's armor with the analytical gaze of someone calculating combat value. Your armor suggests advanced military civilization. Your tactics at the Lothal garrison suggest special forces training. And your presence suggests something unprecedented occurred to bring you here. Explain. Chief provided the sanitized version, dimensional breach, Forerunner technology malfunction, arrival in Imperial space, subsequent engagement with hostile forces. He omitted classified UNSC information, Spartan program specifics, and operational details that might be exploited. Dodonna listened without interruption, his expression revealing nothing. When Chief finished, the general leaned back. Dimensional travel. Forerunner ancient technology. Genetic supersoldiers. It sounds like fantasy, except you're standing here, your armor's sensor profile confirms non-standard technology, and you eliminated 3 Death Troopers with your bare hands according to witness reports. Accurate summary, Chief confirmed. Then let's discuss reality. The Empire knows you exist. They'll hunt you obsessively, not just because you're a security threat, but because your technology represents strategic advantage. If Imperial scientists reverse engineer your armor, they could create super soldiers that make Stormtroopers look like children. That makes you a high-value target worth unlimited resources to capture or kill. I understand the threat assessment, Chief replied. I've been hunted before. Not like this, Dodonna countered. The Empire controls thousands of star systems, millions of ships, and trillions of personnel. They can devote entire fleets to your capture. Your only survival option is alliance with organizations that can provide cover, intelligence, and extraction when Imperial forces close in. Organizations like the Rebel Alliance. You want to recruit me, Chief stated flatly. I want to ensure you survive, Dodonna corrected. Which benefits both of us. You provide tactical capabilities we desperately need. We provide the infrastructure necessary for your survival and research into dimensional technology. Symbiotic relationship, not servitude. Before Chief could respond, alarms blared throughout the base. Tactical displays lit up with hostile contacts, 3 Imperial Star Destroyers dropping from hyperspace at the system's edge, TIE fighter screens deploying, and long-range scans detecting boarding craft preparing for planetary assault. How did they find us? Sato demanded, rushing to the tactical console. This base is hidden, shielded, no communications that could be traced. They tracked us, Cannon said grimly, entering the command center with the rest of the Ghost crew. The Ghost's hyperdrive signature. They must have tagged us during the escape from Lothal, waited until we led them to something valuable. And they got Atollon base, Dodonna said, his tactical mind already calculating. Full evacuation. All personnel to transports. Combat craft provide cover while civilians extract. We have maybe 20 minutes before they're in assault range. Chief studied the tactical display. 3 Star Destroyers represented overwhelming firepower against the Rebel base's limited defenses. The Y-Wings and X-Wings could harass Imperial fighters, but capital ship turbolaser batteries would reduce the base to molten coral within an hour of sustained bombardment. Standard asymmetric warfare scenario, inferior force executing fighting retreat against superior enemy. Chief had conducted dozens of similar operations against Covenant fleets. What are your defensive capabilities? Chief asked. Dodonna glanced at him with surprise, apparently not expecting tactical input. Ion cannon, 1 operational. Limited ammunition. Shield generator protecting command center. Ground-based anti-aircraft batteries. Maybe 24 starfighters combat ready. Against 3 Star Destroyers. He shook his head. We'll bloody them, but we can't stop them. You don't need to stop them, Chief said, his tactical assessment coalescing. You need to delay them long enough for evacuation, then deny them the base's intelligence value. Scorched Earth Doctrine, destroy everything that can't be evacuated. We know evacuation protocols, Sato replied, a edge of defensiveness in his tone. The question is whether we can execute before they glass us from orbit. Chief pointed to the tactical display. Those Star Destroyers are maintaining long-range position. They're not closing immediately despite having firepower advantage. Why? Dodonna studied the display with renewed focus. They're waiting for something. Additional forces? No, the 3 destroyers are sufficient for this target. They're waiting because... His eyes widened. They want prisoners. Intelligence. They're planning boarding assault rather than orbital bombardment. Which gives you the time you need, Chief confirmed. They'll deploy ground forces, attempt to capture personnel and equipment intact. That takes longer than glassing from orbit. Use that time. Evacuate civilians first, combat personnel second, command staff last. Destroy intelligence databases, rig the base for demolition, leave nothing for Imperial exploitation. And what do we do about the ground assault when it arrives? Sato challenged. Chief's response was simple, I hold them. The command center fell silent. Every rebel officer stared at Chief with expressions mixing disbelief and hope. "You're proposing to engage Imperial ground forces alone?" Dodonna asked carefully. "Stormtrooper legions, AT-ST walkers, probably death troopers and Inquisitors given your priority threat status." "I'm proposing to delay them," Chief corrected. "Create enough resistance that Imperial commanders commit additional forces, create confusion in their tactical coordination, force them to divert resources from preventing your evacuation. I'm not holding the base indefinitely, just long enough for your people to escape." Hera stepped forward, her expression conflicted. "Chief, that's suicide. Even with your armor and capabilities, you can't fight an entire Imperial assault alone." "I've done it before," Chief stated simply. "On Reach, during the Covenant invasion. On Earth, against Covenant occupation forces. On the Ark, against Flood combat forms and Sentinel defense systems. I'm not unfamiliar with impossible odds." Kanan studied Chief with his Jedi senses, apparently perceiving something beyond normal awareness. "You've accepted this. Not as sacrifice, but as tactical necessity. You'll fight knowing you probably won't survive, but believing your death will purchase enough time for others to live." "Correct assessment," Chief confirmed. Sabine shook her head violently. "No. Absolutely not. We don't leave people behind, and we're not letting you throw your life away because we accidentally led the Empire here." "It's not your decision," Chief replied, his tone carrying command authority. "I'm not under your jurisdiction. I'm offering tactical support for an evacuation operation. Accept or decline, but decide quickly. Imperial assault craft will make planetfall in 14 minutes. Dodonna made the command decision. "Accepted. Commander Sato, begin evacuation protocol. Combat personnel remain until civilians are clear. General Syndulla, coordinate starfighter cover." And Master Chief, he met Chief's eyes with the respect of one soldier recognizing another's sacrifice. "May the Force be with you." "I don't need the Force," Chief replied. "I have Mjolnir armor, combat experience, and tactical positioning. That'll be sufficient." The base erupted into controlled chaos, personnel rushing to transports. Equipment being destroyed or loaded for evacuation, defensive positions being manned by volunteers who'd buy time with their lives if necessary. Chief moved to the base's main entrance, the natural choke point where Imperial ground forces would concentrate their assault. The Ghost crew followed despite his implicit dismissal. "We're not leaving," Zeb stated, his bow rifle charged and ready. "You helped us at Lothal. We help you here. That's how it works." "You'll die," Chief said bluntly. "Probably," Kanan agreed, his lightsaber hilt in hand. "But we've been dying for this cause since we joined the rebellion. At least this time, we're dying to protect our own people rather than some abstract strategic objective." Ezra activated his own lightsaber, a blue blade that hummed with contained energy. "Besides, you haven't seen what a Jedi can do in combat. We might surprise you." Sabine armed explosive charges along the entrance corridor. "And I'm not missing the chance to blow up Imperials with someone who fights like you. This is going to be legendary." Chief assessed the situation. Tactically, additional combatants increased defensive effectiveness. Emotionally, a concept Spartans were trained to suppress but never fully eliminated, he respected their choice to stand. "Rules of engagement," Chief stated. "I'm primary combatant and target. You provide support fire, force multiplication, and tactical flexibility. When I order retreat, you retreat immediately. No heroics, no last stands, no sacrificing yourselves because you think it's honorable. Understood?" "Understood," Kanan confirmed for the group. "Good." Chief checked his remaining ammunition, half a magazine for his M6 Magnum, one captured E-11 blaster at 60% charge, his combat knife. Not ideal, but Spartans had survived on less. "Then let's make the Empire regret coming here." The Imperial landing craft descended through Atollon's atmosphere like mechanical predators, for Sentinel-class transports, each carrying a full platoon of Stormtroopers, supported by 2 AT-ST walkers and what Chief's sensors identified as an elite unit marker, Death Troopers, probably, or the Inquisitor who'd observed him on Lothal. The transports landed in precise formation, ramps lowering to disgorge white-armored soldiers who moved with professional discipline. Chief counted 73 hostiles in the first wave, with more craft descending behind them. "Here we go," Chief muttered, his targeting reticle painting priority threats. "Engage on my mark." The Stormtroopers advanced toward the base entrance. Their formation was textbook, fire teams providing mutual support, heavy weapons specialists positioned for suppression fire, officers coordinating through comms. Professional military. Not the security forces he'd encountered at Lothal. These were actual soldiers. Chief opened fire. His first burst from the captured E-11 took down the lead fire team, precise shots to helmet visors where armor was weakest. The Stormtroopers scattered, seeking cover, their training kicking in. Return fire converged on Chief's position, green energy bolts lighting up the coral formations. Cannon ignited his lightsaber and deflected shots with Jedi precision, the blue blade weaving patterns that sent bolts back toward their sources. Ezra provided support, his smaller stature allowing him to move through cover while engaging targets of opportunity. Zeb charged with his bow rifle, meeting Stormtroopers in close combat where his superior strength dominated. Sabine triggered explosive charges that collapsed sections of the entrance, creating obstacles that disrupted Imperial advance. The battle for Atollon had begun. And Master Chief, outnumbered and outgunned, stood at the center of it with the calm certainty of a Spartan who'd survived worse. The AT-ST walkers lumbered forward, their chin-mounted blaster cannons carving through coral formations with sustained fire. Chief's motion tracker painted their approach vectors while his tactical assessment calculated vulnerabilities, cockpit viewports, leg joints, and the exposed power generators on their flanks. "Sabine, can you disable those walkers?" Chief called over the comm channel, his M6 Magnum punching through a Stormtrooper's chest plate at 40 meters. "Give me 30 seconds and covering fire," she responded, already moving with explosive charges in hand. Chief provided exactly that. He emerged from cover with Mjolnir's speed enhancement, drawing fire from 24 Stormtroopers while his shields absorbed the hits. The blaster bolts drained his energy reserves faster than Covenant plasma would have, different energy spectrum, his shields less optimized against this weapon type, but he had enough capacity for what needed doing. He threw his last fragmentation grenade into the densest cluster of Stormtroopers. The explosion sent armored bodies flying, their plastoid armor insufficient against military-grade ordnance. Chief followed up with precise pistol fire, each shot a confirmed kill or disable. The M6 magazine ran dry after 12 shots. No more UNSC ammunition. He was now entirely dependent on captured weapons. Zeb roared past him, his massive frame absorbing blaster fire that would have killed unaugmented humans. The Lazad warrior's bow rifle crackled with electrical discharge as he beat down 3 Stormtroopers with brutal efficiency, his natural strength enhanced by controlled fury. Cannon fought like water made lethal, flowing between opponents, his lightsaber deflecting shots while he used the force to push groups of Stormtroopers into each other, creating openings his allies exploited. Ezra fought with less finesse but growing confidence, his connection to the force allowing him to anticipate attacks fractionally before they occurred. The rebels were outnumbered 5-1. They fought anyway. Sabine reached the first AT-ST, mag-locked her charges to its leg joint, and rolled clear as Imperial fire converged on her position. Charges set. Clear the blast zone. The explosion severed the walker's leg at the knee joint. The massive vehicle toppled, its pilot struggling to compensate as the cockpit struck ground with violent impact. The second AT-ST adjusted course, targeting Sabine's retreat, but Chief had anticipated that. He sprinted toward the disabled walker, 30 meters covered in seconds with Mjolnir's enhancement, and leaped. His armored weight and momentum carried him onto the fallen AT-ST's hull. He tore the cockpit hatch open with enhanced strength that crumpled durasteel, then neutralized the pilot with a controlled strike. Inside the cockpit, controls still functional, weapon systems online. Chief had never piloted an AT-ST, but the principles were universal: targeting computer, trigger mechanism, locomotion controls. He'd learned to drive Warthogs, Scorpion tanks, Wraith vehicles, and even Covenant ghosts through field improvisation. One Imperial walker shouldn't be too difficult. He activated the weapons systems and targeted the second AT-ST. The chin-mounted blasters spat coherent energy at point-blank range, overwhelming the other walker's armor through sheer concentrated firepower. The second walker erupted in flames, its power core breaching. Chief just hijacked an AT-ST. Ezra's voice carried disbelief and excitement. That's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Focus. Cannon snapped, deflecting a near miss that would have taken Ezra's head off. We're still outnumbered. The Imperial assault had stalled, 2 walkers destroyed, a full platoon eliminated or incapacitated, their advance disrupted by defenders who fought with capabilities beyond their tactical expectations. But the second wave was landing, more transports, more Stormtroopers, and something new. Death Troopers. 20 elite soldiers in black armor advanced with coordinated precision that made standard Stormtroopers look like militia. Their weapons were enhanced, their armor more sophisticated, and their tactics suggested special forces training comparable to ODST shock troopers. Chief's threat assessment tagged them as maximum priority. He fired the AT-ST's weapons until the power cells depleted, forcing Death Troopers to scatter and seek cover. Then he abandoned the disabled walker, dropping to ground level where his Mjolnir armor's mobility advantages outweighed the walker's firepower. The Death Troopers engaged with professional ruthlessness. Their shots targeted Chief's armor joints, his helmet visor, his shield projector nodes, weak points only someone with detailed technical knowledge would recognize. Imperial intelligence had analyzed his capabilities during the Lothal encounter and disseminated that information to elite units. Adaptive enemy. Dangerous. Chief closed distance, using coral formations for cover while his shields regenerated between engagements. He'd learned over decades of combat that ranged superiority meant nothing if you could force close-quarters engagement where training and physical enhancement dominated. A Death Trooper attempted to flank him. Chief sensed the movement through his motion tracker and Mjolnir's threat detection, pivoted, and caught the elite soldier's weapon mid-thrust. Enhanced strength wrenched the blaster free, then Chief used it as a club to disable the trooper with strikes that cracked sophisticated armor. 2 more Death Troopers converged. Chief grabbed the disabled soldier and used him as cover, the black armor absorbing friendly fire while Chief targeted the attacker's exposed positions. One went down to headshot, the other to a precisely thrown combat knife that Chief retrieved from his armor's maglock. 15 Death Troopers remaining. Then the Inquisitor arrived. The 7th brother descended from a command shuttle with theatrical menace, his double-bladed lightsaber igniting with crimson glow, his presence radiating dark side energy that even Chief's non-force-sensitive awareness registered as threat. The other Imperial forces pulled back, creating an arena between Chief and the dark side warrior. The Spartan, the Inquisitor hissed, his voice carrying unnatural resonance. Lord Vader sends his regards. He's very interested in meeting you personally. But first, I'm to test you. Determine if you're worth the Dark Lord's attention or merely another pretender with technological advantages. Chief said nothing, his posture shifting to combat ready. He'd faced energy sword-wielding elites, brute chieftains with gravity hammers, and Promethean knights with hard-light weapons. One force user with a lightsaber was just another threat to neutralize. The Inquisitor attacked with force-enhanced speed, his spinning lightsaber blade carving through space where Chief had been a fraction of a second earlier. Mjolnir's enhanced reflexes allowed Chief to dodge, but the blade's proximity was uncomfortably close, his shields registered heat bloom from the plasma edge. Chief countered with captured blaster fire. The Inquisitor deflected shots effortlessly, his lightsaber weaving patterns that created defensive barrier while he advanced. Then the dark side warrior extended his hand, and Chief felt invisible force grip him, telekinesis attempting to lift him, immobilize him, render him helpless. But Mjolnir armor weighed half a ton. Chief's enhanced musculature added another layer of resistance. And Spartans had trained in high-gravity environments that built strength beyond normal human limits. The force grip struggled against physical mass and augmented physiology. Chief felt the pressure but remained grounded, his boots maglocked to coral stone for additional stability. The Inquisitor's eyes widened fractionally. Impossible. You resist the force through sheer physical. Chief shot him. The blaster bolt struck the Inquisitor's shoulder, spinning him. The dark side warrior snarled, force push sending Chief sliding backward 10 meters. His shields absorbed the kinetic impact, but the power behind it was significant. This force ability could kill unarmored targets through blunt trauma alone. Cannon intervened, his blue lightsaber clashing against the Inquisitor's crimson blade in shower of sparks. Get the others out. Cannon shouted. I'll hold him. You'll die, the Inquisitor promised, his double blade spinning with deadly grace. Another failed Jedi, another monument to the Order's weakness. Maybe, Cannon acknowledged, his stance shifting to defensive form. But I'll buy enough time. Chief's tactical assessment confirmed Cannon couldn't win this fight. The Inquisitor was more skilled, more powerful in the Force, and backed by overwhelming Imperial support. But Cannon could delay him, which was all the evacuation needed. Behind them, the last rebel transport lifted off, its engines straining under maximum load. Civilian personnel secured, combat soldiers extracted, command staff evacuating. The base was nearly empty. Mission accomplished. Zeb, Sabine, Ezra, fall back to the Ghost. Chief ordered. Cannon, disengage on my mark. Sabine triggered her final explosive charges, demolition cells she'd placed throughout the base during the battle. The resulting explosions collapsed tunnels, destroyed equipment, and set fires that would deny the Empire intelligence value. Scorched Earth doctrine executed perfectly. The Ghost descended with weapons firing, Hera's piloting creating suppression patterns that forced Imperial forces to seek cover. The boarding ramp extended, Zeb and Ezra sprinting aboard while Sabine provided covering fire. Cannon disengaged from the Inquisitor with force-assisted leap that carried him 15 meters. Chief's tactical assessment confirmed Cannon couldn't win this fight. The Inquisitor was more skilled, more powerful in the Force, and backed by overwhelming Imperial support. But Cannon could delay him, which was all the evacuation needed. Behind them, the last rebel transport lifted off, its engines straining under maximum load. Civilian personnel secured, combat soldiers extracted, command staff evacuating. The base was nearly empty. Mission accomplished. Zeb, Sabine, Ezra, fall back to the Ghost. Chief ordered. Cannon, disengage on my mark. Sabine triggered her final explosive charges, demolition cells she'd placed throughout the base during the battle. The resulting explosions collapsed tunnels, destroyed equipment, and set fires that would deny the Empire intelligence value. Scorched Earth doctrine executed perfectly. The Ghost descended with weapons firing, Hera's piloting creating suppression patterns that forced Imperial forces to seek cover. The boarding ramp extended, Zeb and Ezra sprinting aboard while Sabine provided covering fire. Cannon disengaged from the Inquisitor with force-assisted leap that carried him 15 meters, landing beside Chief. Go. I'm right behind you. Chief grabbed Cannon, the Jedi didn't weigh much compared to Mjolnir's carrying capacity, and sprinted toward the Ghost with speed that left pursuing stormtroopers shooting at afterimages. Blaster fire converged on his position, his shields dropping to critical levels, warning klaxons screaming in his HUD. 20 meters. 15. 10. An AT-AT walker, massive, four-legged, bristling with weapons, crested the ridge above the base. Its main cannon swiveled toward the Ghost, targeting solutions locking, certain destruction imminent. Chief's tactical assessment calculated, Ghost escape probability at 12%. Transport too slow, too vulnerable, too exposed. The AT-AT would destroy it before it could reach safe altitude. Unless someone disabled the walker. The AT-AT crashed with earth-shaking impact, its massive bulk crushing stormtroopers who couldn't evacuate fast enough. Secondary explosions rippled through its power core, consuming the walker in flames. Above, the Ghost broke atmosphere, carrying rebel survivors to safety. Below, Master Chief stood alone amid burning wreckage and defeated Imperial forces, his armor critically damaged but his mission accomplished. The Inquisitor approached through smoke and fire, his lightsaber still ignited, his expression mixing fury and reluctant respect. You sacrificed yourself for them. Gave up your only escape to ensure their survival. How very Jedi of you. Not sacrifice, Chief corrected, his voice steady despite damage reports flooding his HUD. Tactical necessity. They needed time to escape. I provided it. And now you die, the Inquisitor stated. Surrounded, outgunned, your armor failing. Was it worth it, Spartan? These rebels you barely know, they're 'cause you don't believe in, was it worth your life? Chief considered the question while his threat assessment counted 67 hostile contacts converging on his position, his weapons depleted, his shields offline, his armor at 40% integrity. Yes, he said simply. The Inquisitor raised his lightsaber for the killing blow. Then a ship descended from above, not the Ghost, but something else. Larger. Military grade. And broadcasting a signal Chief's translator finally parsed, Imperial forces, stand down. This prisoner is claimed under bounty contract authorized by Darth Vader himself. Interference will be met with extreme prejudice. A Mandalorian ship. And standing on its boarding ramp, wearing distinctive armor and carrying weapons that suggested legendary status, was a figure Chief had only heard mentioned during interrogation sessions. Boba Fett. The galaxy's most feared bounty hunter. And he was here for Master Chief. Boba Fett's slave eye hovered with predatory menace, its weapons trained on the Inquisitor and surrounding Imperial forces with the implicit threat of a hunter who answered to no one but the highest bidder. The Mandalorian bounty hunter stood on the boarding ramp in armor that mixed forest green, crimson red, and battle-worn gray, Beskar plating that had survived decades of the galaxy's most dangerous contracts. The bounty on the Spartan is mine, Fett's voice carried through external speakers, filtered through his helmet's vocoder into flat mechanical menace. Lord Vader authorized capture, alive and functional. Your orders were observation and containment, Inquisitor. Not execution. The Seventh Brother's crimson blade remained ignited, but Chief detected hesitation in his stance. This is an Imperial military operation. Bounty hunters have no jurisdiction. I have Vader's authorization, Fett interrupted. Transmitted codes authenticating now. Check with your command if you doubt me. But every second you delay is a second the Spartan might die from his injuries or choose suicide over capture. Is that an outcome you want to explain to the Dark Lord? The Inquisitor's fury was palpable even without force sensitivity, but he deactivated his lightsaber and stepped back. 30 minutes. If you can't secure him in that time, he becomes Imperial prisoner under military authority. Won't need 30, Fett replied. Won't need 5. The slave eye descended fully, its landing struts extending. Fett walked down the ramp with the confidence of someone who'd survived hundreds of deadly confrontations through skill, planning, and absolute ruthlessness. His EE-3 carbine rifle remained holstered, but his wrist-mounted weapons, flamethrower, fibercord whip, rocket dart launcher, were clearly visible and ready. Chief's threat assessment tagged Boba Fett as extreme danger, professional hunter, Mandalorian training, sophisticated equipment. And reputation suggesting he never failed to deliver contracts. The bounty hunter approached with caution suggesting respect for Chief's capabilities despite the Spartan's critically damaged armor. Master Chief Petty Officer John 117, Fett stated, his voice carrying no particular emotion. You've caused the Empire considerable trouble in a very short time. 3 Death Troopers killed, multiple craft destroyed, an AT-AT disabled, and now a rebel base evacuated because you held the line long enough for extraction. Impressive resume for someone who's been in this galaxy less than a week. Chief remained motionless, conserving energy, calculating escape probabilities. His armor's mobility was compromised, right leg actuator damaged, jump jets offline, shield generator destroyed. His weapons were depleted except for his combat knife. Against a Mandalorian bounty hunter with full equipment and Imperial support, his odds were approximately 8%. Low, but not zero. Lord Vader wants you alive, Fett continued, circling Chief with Predator's assessment. Wants to study your armor, understand your capabilities, determine if you're threat or asset. He's offering substantial payment for your delivery, enough to fund retirement if I wanted it. But I don't hunt for credits alone anymore. I hunt because it's what I am. Then you understand, Chief replied, his voice steady despite damage warnings flooding his HUD. I'm what I am too. A soldier. I don't surrender. I've heard that before, Fett said, almost conversationally. From Jedi, from Republic commandos, from beings who thought their training and power made them invincible. They all came peacefully eventually. Either unconscious, or in pieces, but they came. Chief's motion tracker detected Fett's hand moving toward his wrist controls, probably preparing fiber cord or stun weapons. Chief moved first. Despite his damaged armor, despite exhaustion from sustained combat. Lord Vader wants you alive, Fett continued, circling Chief with Predator's assessment. Wants to study your armor, understand your capabilities, determine if you're threat or asset. He's offering substantial payment for your delivery, enough to fund retirement if I wanted it. But I don't hunt for credits alone anymore. I hunt because it's what I am. Then you understand, Chief replied, his voice steady despite damage warnings flooding his HUD. I'm what I am too. A soldier. I don't surrender. I've heard that before, Fett said, almost conversationally. From Jedi, from Republic commandos, from beings who thought their training and power made them invincible. They all came peacefully eventually. Either unconscious, or in pieces, but they came. Chief's motion tracker detected Fett's hand moving toward his wrist controls, probably preparing fiber cord or stun weapons. Chief moved first. Despite his damaged armor, despite exhaustion from sustained combat, despite odds that would make any sane person surrender, Master Chief attacked. He closed the distance between himself and Fett in 2 explosive strides, his armored fist swinging toward the Mandalorian's helmet with force that could crack Beskar if the angle was right. Fett reacted with impressive speed, his jetpack firing to lift him 3 meters instantly, Chief's punch striking empty air. Fett's wrist-mounted flamethrower activated mid-flight, spraying Chief's position with superheated plasma. Mjolnir's temperature regulation struggled, the armor could withstand brief exposure to flame, but sustained fire would cook Chief inside his suit like meat in an oven. Chief rolled out of the flame path, his damaged leg actuator screaming protest. He grabbed a piece of debris from the destroyed AT-AT, 50 kilograms of twisted durasteel, and hurled it at Fett with strength that turned wreckage into projectile. Fett's jetpack dodged, but the debris forced him to break off his flamethrower attack. The bounty hunter fired his EE-3 carbine, 3-round bursts targeting Chief's already damaged armor sections. Without shields, each hit degraded integrity further, left shoulder pauldron shattered completely, exposing the gel layer and Chief's augmented physiology beneath. Chief needed to end this quickly. Every second prolonged meant increased damage, reduced capability, and higher probability of capture. He scanned the battlefield for advantages, destroyed walker wreckage, scattered Imperial equipment, the slave eye hovering nearby with its boarding ramp still extended. The ship. If he could reach it, disable Fett's transport, level the tactical playing field. Fett anticipated the thought. Not happening, Spartan. My ship's security systems would kill you before you reached the cockpit. And I'm not letting you close distance again. He was right. Fett fought like a professional, maintaining range advantage, exploiting equipment superiority, never giving opponents openings to leverage their strengths. It was how Mandalorians survived against Force users and how bounty hunters captured targets that outmatched them in raw power. Chief needed different tactics. "You said Vader wants me alive," Chief stated, his voice amplified through damaged external speakers. "That means you're constrained. Can't use lethal force, can't risk killing me accidentally. But I have no such constraints." He grabbed his combat knife, his last UNSC weapon, and held it to his own throat. The blade's monomolecular edge could penetrate Mjolnir's undersuit and sever his carotid artery before his enhanced healing could compensate. Fett froze mid-flight, his jetpack stabilizing. "You're bluffing." "Spartans don't bluff," Chief replied. "We accomplish missions through any means necessary. My mission is remaining free until I find a way home. If capture is inevitable, I deny the Empire the intelligence value my body represents. Simple tactical calculation." The Inquisitor laughed from his observation position. The Spartan would rather die than submit. How delightfully primitive. "By all means, Fett, call his bluff." But Fett wasn't laughing. His helmet remained fixed on Chief, apparently calculating probabilities through whatever tactical assessment systems Mandalorian armor provided. "You'd really do it? Sacrifice everything, your chance to go home, your mission, your life, rather than let the Empire study you?" "Yes," Chief confirmed. "I've seen what happens when advanced technology falls into the wrong hands. The Covenant would have won the war if they'd fully reverse-engineered Mjolnir. I won't let that happen here. Stand off." Chief with a knife to his own throat, Fett hovering with weapons ready but constrained by contract requirements, and Imperial forces surrounding them both waiting for resolution. Then a new transmission crackled through the comm frequencies, cutting through every channel with authority that suggested absolute power. "Bounty hunter. Spartan. Cease this posturing. I grow weary of delays." The voice was mechanical, filtered through respirator systems, but carrying weight that made even Boba Fett tense. Chief's tactical database had no reference for the speaker, but every Imperial soldier's body language screamed one word: Vader. Darth Vader. The Sith Lord who commanded the Empire's military might, who wielded the dark side with legendary power, and who apparently had taken personal interest in Master Chief's capture. A holographic projection materialized from the Slave Eye's communication systems, a towering figure in black armor, cape flowing despite the hologram's static nature, mask concealing features but radiating menace. Darth Vader studied Chief through the holographic interface with mechanical breathing providing unsettling rhythm. "Master Chief," Vader's voice resonated with dark side power even through transmission. "You interest me. A warrior without the Force. Yet you survive what should destroy you. Technology without midichlorian enhancement, yet your capabilities rival Jedi Knights. You are an anomaly I must understand." Chief lowered the knife fractionally but kept it ready. "If you want to understand me, call off your forces. Negotiate rather than threaten. I'll provide information in exchange for resources to research dimensional travel. You presume to negotiate?" Vader's tone carried the weight of someone unaccustomed to being challenged. "You are in no position to make demands, Spartan. Surrounded, wounded, your equipment failing. I could order your immediate termination and accept the loss of whatever secrets you possess. But you won't," Chief countered. "Because I'm the only source of information about technology beyond your Empire's reach. Mjolnir armor, Spartan augmentations, Forerunner artifacts, you want all of it. And the only way you get it is through my cooperation." Vader's mechanical breathing continued for 5 measured cycles. "Then, you possess courage. Foolish courage, perhaps, but courage nonetheless. I will grant your request, temporary cessation of hostilities while we negotiate. But understand this, Spartan, I am not a politician to be swayed by rhetoric. I am power incarnate. If you attempt deception, if you waste my time with meaningless negotiations, I will personally ensure your suffering before death. The threat hung in the air like physical presence. Chief had faced intimidation before, Covenant prophets, flood grave mines, even Forerunner constructs with godlike capabilities. Vader's dark side menace was qualitatively different but not fundamentally new. Agreed, Chief said. Where do you want to conduct negotiations? Aboard my flagship, the Executor. Lord Vader's personal super-star destroyer, Fett supplied, his tone mixing warning and professional courtesy. You'll be transported in stasis, not imprisonment, but medical necessity given your armor's condition. Lord Vader's medical facilities can stabilize you while technicians assess your equipment. Chief's tactical assessments screamed danger. Boarding Vader's flagship meant placing himself at the Empire's mercy, surrendering all tactical advantages, gambling that Vader's desire for information outweighed the strategic benefit of dissection and reverse engineering. But his armor was failing. His weapons were depleted. And the Rebel Alliance, for all their good intentions, lacked the scientific infrastructure necessary to research dimensional travel at the level Chief required. The Empire had resources. Vader had power. And sometimes, surviving meant accepting calculated risks that looked like suicide to outside observers. I'll board voluntarily, Chief stated. But I need guarantees. My armor remains intact, I'm not subjected to invasive procedures without consent, and I retain the right to terminate negotiations if terms become unacceptable. Vader's mechanical breathing seemed almost amused. You continue to presume negotiating position. Very well. Your armor will remain intact until you consent otherwise. No invasive procedures without agreement. But understand, if you terminate negotiations, you become military prisoner with no rights, no protections, no mercy. Those are my terms. Not ideal. But survivable. Accepted, Chief confirmed. He deactivated his combat knife and mag-locked it to his armor. Fett descended, his weapons holstered but ready, his posture suggesting any hostile movement would be met with immediate overwhelming response. Walk to the ship, Fett instructed. Slowly. Keep your hands visible. My sensors are tracking your heart rate, your neural activity, and your armor's power fluctuations. Any deviation from expected parameters, and I assume hostile action. Chief walked. Each step sent pain signals through his enhanced nervous system, the damaged leg actuator grinding against itself, compromised gel layer failing to properly cushion movement, and dozens of minor injuries his healing factor struggled to address simultaneously. But Spartans had walked through worse. He'd once climbed through a Covenant cruiser with a meter-long plasma burn across his back. He'd fought the flood with cracked ribs and a punctured lung. Pain was information, not limitation. He reached the slaves' boarding ramp. Inside, the ship was utilitarian, weapon racks, carbonite freezing chamber, prisoner restraints, and medical equipment that looked more like torture devices. Fett directed Chief to a reinforced holding area where force fields would contain even his enhanced strength. Stasis in 60 seconds, Fett warned. Don't make me increase the dosage to lethal levels because you decided resistance was worth dying for. Chief sat, his armor's servos whining protest. Through the slave's viewport, he watched Adelon's surface, the destroyed rebel base, scattered Imperial forces, and smoke rising from battles that had cost lives on both sides. The Ghost crew had escaped. The rebels had evacuated. His delaying action had succeeded. That was enough. For now. The stasis field activated, Chief's enhanced metabolism fighting the sedatives for 3 seconds before overwhelming pharmacology took effect. His consciousness dimmed, tactical awareness fading, and the last thought before darkness was simply. Spartans never die. They're just missing in action. And I'm not done yet. Master Chief awakened in a medical bay that combined Imperial sterility with technological sophistication exceeding anything he'd seen outside ONI research facilities. His Mjolnir armor had been removed, not forcibly, but with care suggesting technicians who understood the consequence of triggering defensive protocols. He lay on a medical platform wearing the black undersuit that interfaced directly with his augmented physiology, his vital signs monitored by equipment that hummed with quiet efficiency. His enhanced senses cataloged the environment immediately: locked door, reinforced walls, atmospheric composition standard, gravity slightly higher than Earth normal. No visible guards, but surveillance systems tracked his every movement. His armor stood 3 meters away on a diagnostic platform, technicians in Imperial uniforms conducting scans with equipment that couldn't possibly understand what they were analyzing. And standing between Chief and his armor was Darth Vader. The Sith Lord was more imposing in person than holographic transmission suggested. 2 meters tall, black armor that seemed to absorb light, cape hanging with perfect stillness despite the bay's ventilation. His mask turned toward Chief with mechanical precision, respirator providing rhythmic breathing that filled the silence with ominous cadence. "You are awake," Vader observed. "Your healing capabilities are remarkable." The medical droid's estimated 48 hours before consciousness. "You achieved it in 12. Another anomaly to catalog." Chief sat up slowly, assessing his physical condition. Bruised but intact, augmentations functional, healing factor addressing minor trauma. Without his armor, he was still stronger and faster than any unaugmented human, but vulnerable in ways Spartans trained to avoid. "My armor," Chief said flatly. "You agreed it would remain intact." "And so it has," Vader confirmed. "My technicians conduct only non-invasive analysis. They will learn nothing useful. Your technology operates on principles our science cannot replicate without decades of foundational research. But the exercise satisfies Imperial curiosity." He gestured toward a chair. "Sit. We will negotiate." Chief stood instead, establishing psychological position through physicality. Even without armor, his augmented height put him nearly at eye level with Vader. "I need access to your archives on ancient civilizations. Specifically, any technology capable of dimensional manipulation or creating breaches between universes." "You wish to return home," Vader stated. "To continue your war against the Covenant and Flood. To resume service to your UNSC. Understandable motivation." The Dark Lord's mask tilted slightly. "But consider alternative perspective. Your universe contains extinction-level threats. Here, you face merely galactic tyranny, unpleasant, but survivable. Why risk return to certain death when you could remain where your capabilities make you valuable?" "Because it's my war," Chief replied simply. "My people. My responsibility. I don't abandon missions because they're difficult." Vader's mechanical breathing continued for several cycles. "Loyalty. Duty. Sacrifice." The Jedi spoke of such things constantly, and their rigid adherence to these concepts led to their destruction. "You cling to similar ideals. Do you not see the pattern?" "The Jedi failed because they became generals instead of peacekeepers," Chief countered. "They compromised their principles serving political interests. I've seen it happen, good soldiers following bad orders because command structure demanded obedience. I won't make that mistake." "Yet you served your UNSC without question," Vader observed. "Followed orders that sent you into certain death scenarios repeatedly. You speak of avoiding the Jedi's mistakes while embodying the very loyalty that destroyed them." Chief met Vader's masked gaze steadily. "I followed orders when they served humanity's survival. I questioned orders when they conflicted with protecting innocence. And I've disobeyed direct commands when strategic situation required it. Loyalty doesn't mean blind obedience." Vader turned away, his cape settling with mechanical precision. "You interest me more than anticipated, Spartan. You possess power without the Force, conviction without ideology, and strength without corruption. In another timeline, you might have made an exceptional Sith." "I'm not interested in your dark side," Chief replied. "No. You're interested in going home." Vader activated a holographic display showing galactic maps. "The Empire has encountered dimensional anomalies 3 times in recorded history. The Mortis Gateway, destroyed. The world between worlds on Lothal, sealed by Jedi interference. And the Malakar superweapon, unstable and guarded by ancient Sith artifacts. Chief studied the display with tactical focus. Malakar. What kind of superweapon? Ancient Sith battle station designed to destroy all life on a planetary scale through dark side energy conversion. The weapon was never completed, but its power systems operate on principles that bend space and time. If any location in this galaxy could facilitate dimensional breach, Malakar would be the candidate. Then that's where I need to go, Chief stated. Vader's mask turned back toward him. Malakar is forbidden territory. The dark side presence there corrupts even the strongest minds. Jedi who venture there fall to darkness or die attempting to resist. You possess no force sensitivity, no protection against the corruption that permeates the temple. I've resisted flood infection through sheer will when the parasite tried to convert me, Chief replied. I've faced Gravemind's psychological manipulation and remained myself. Your dark side doesn't concern me. Your confidence borders on arrogance, Vader observed. But I appreciate the quality. Very well. I will provide access to Malakar and the technical data necessary to navigate its dangers. In exchange, you will undertake a mission for the Empire. Chief had expected this. Vader wouldn't grant access to critical resources without extracting value. What mission? The Rebel Alliance has become increasingly effective due to leadership that coordinates disparate cells into coherent military force. Remove that leadership, and the rebellion fractures into manageable threats. I want you to infiltrate the rebel command structure, identify their key strategic personnel, and eliminate them. No, Chief stated flatly. I don't assassinate military leaders conducting legitimate resistance against tyranny. Find someone else. Vader's respirator breathing intensified slightly, the only indication of reaction beneath the mask. You refuse? I do, Chief confirmed. The rebels are soldiers fighting for their freedom against an oppressive government. They're not terrorists, not genocidal aliens, not existential threats to their species. They're people who refuse to accept subjugation. I won't kill them for your convenience. Then you will not receive access to Malakar, Vader replied with absolute finality. You will remain Imperial prisoner until your technology is sufficiently analyzed, then be executed as security threat. Your cooperation was the only factor preventing that outcome. Chief's tactical assessment calculated his options: attempt escape without armor in a Star Destroyer surrounded by thousands of Imperial personnel, comply with Vader's demands and betray principles that defined him, or find alternative leverage. I have another offer, Chief said. Something more valuable than assassinating rebel leadership. Vader's stance suggested interest. Speak. You want to understand my technology. Mjolnir armor, Spartan augmentations, UNSC weapons design. But more than that. You want to understand how a non-force sensitive combatant can fight at levels rivaling Jedi Knights. You want to create your own super soldiers, Imperial warriors who don't depend on force sensitivity or midi-chlorian counts. Warriors you can fully control through technology rather than ideology. An astute observation, Vader acknowledged. Continue. I'll provide technical specifications for Spartan augmentation procedures. Not Mjolnir, that requires infrastructure you lack, but the biological enhancements. Skeletal reinforcement, muscular enhancement, neural optimization. Procedures your medical technology could theoretically replicate. In exchange, you grant me access to Malakar and the research data necessary to attempt dimensional breach. Vader considered the proposal for 15 seconds of mechanical breathing. The augmentation procedures would allow the Empire to create enhanced soldiers. Storm commandos superior to anything currently fielded. Inquisitors without force dependency. You would grant your enemy strategic advantage for personal benefit? I would grant you knowledge you'll eventually develop independently, Chief corrected. Your technology level suggests you're maybe a century away from similar enhancements. I'm accelerating the timeline, not creating unprecedented capability. And I'm gambling that by the time you've successfully implemented the procedures, I'll be back in my own universe where it doesn't matter what the Empire can do. A calculated risk, Vader mused. You believe your civilization's advanced status makes this galaxy's conflicts irrelevant to your interests. I believe my war is more important than yours, Chief stated bluntly. The Covenant and Flood threaten trillions across multiple galaxies. Your Empire and the Rebellion are fighting over political control of one galaxy. Scale matters. Vader's mask seemed to study Chief with renewed interest. You possess the pragmatism of a Sith combined with the principles of a Jedi. A fascinating contradiction. He gestured, and a data terminal rose from the floor. Document the augmentation procedures. Complete technical specifications. If your information proves legitimate, you will have your access to Malakar. Chief approached the terminal, his enhanced mind already organizing the information. He would provide genuine technical data, the Spartan 2 augmentation procedures that had created him and 74 other children decades ago. Carbide ceramic bone grafts, muscular enhancement proteins, catalytic thyroid implants, occipital capillary reversal, all documented with sufficient detail for competent medical science to replicate. But he would omit critical context, the 56% fatality rate, the psychological trauma, the moral compromises Dr. Halsey had made justifying the program. Let the Empire learn those lessons themselves if they chose to proceed. He worked for 3 hours, his enhanced memory providing precise specifications while Vader observed in silence. When Chief finished, the Dark Lord reviewed the data with focus that suggested genuine understanding rather than political oversight. This is legitimate, Vader concluded. Your civilization performed genetic modification on children, accepting massive casualties to create supersoldiers. The moral implications are significant. Desperate times, Chief replied. Humanity faced extinction. The Spartan program was a war crime that saved our species. Sometimes survival requires becoming monsters. A philosophy I understand intimately, Vader said quietly. His mechanical hand activated another holographic display, this one showing Malakar's temple structure, navigational hazards, and the superweapons layout. Study this. Memorize it. You will depart from Malakar within the hour aboard a Lambda-class shuttle with minimal crew. The dark side presence will test you in ways physical combat cannot. If you survive and successfully activate the dimensional breach, you will have earned your passage home. And if I fail? Chief asked. Then the dark side claims another victim, and the Empire loses nothing but a shuttle and the potential advantage your augmentation procedures represent. Acceptable risk from my perspective. Chief downloaded the Malakar data to a portable device. His tactical mind was already analyzing the temple layout, calculating approach vectors, identifying defensive positions. A solo infiltration mission into hostile territory with unknown supernatural threats. Standard Spartan operation, really. One more question, Chief said. Why help me at all? You could have dissected me, reverse-engineered my armor through destructive analysis, and extracted everything of value. Why negotiate? Vader's respirator breathing provided rhythm to his response. Because power recognizes power, Spartan. You are weapon forged through suffering, trauma, and necessity, created to save your people regardless of personal cost. I am weapon forged through betrayal, loss, and transformation, created to enforce order regardless of moral consideration. We are not so different, you and I. Both of us are what we needed to become for purposes beyond ourselves. Chief met Vader's masked gaze. We're very different. You serve tyranny. I serve humanity. Do you? Vader challenged. Or do you serve the idea of humanity, the abstract concept that justifies every sacrifice, every compromise, every atrocity committed in survival's name? When you killed to protect your species, when you followed orders that destroyed your humanity piece by piece, when you became living weapon rather than person with choice, who did that serve? Humanity? Or the war machine that created you? The word struck deeper than Chief wanted to acknowledge. But before he could formulate response, Vader turned away. Your shuttle awaits. Your armor has been restored to functional status. My technicians repaired damage sustained during Adelon. Consider it professional courtesy between warriors. The Dark Lord paused at the door. May the Force be with you, Master Chief. Though you possess none of its power, perhaps it will guide your destiny regardless. Vader departed, leaving Chief alone with his armor, his mission, and the uncomfortable questions about who he served and why. But Spartans didn't have time for existential crises. They had missions to complete. Chief donned his Mjolnir armor, the familiar weight settling across his augmented frame like coming home. Systems activated, shields at full capacity, motion tracker functional, HUD displaying optimal readiness. His armor had indeed been repaired with impressive competence. He collected his remaining equipment and headed toward the shuttle bay. Malakar awaited, with its ancient Sith temple, its dimensional instability, and his only chance of returning home. One more mission. One more impossible objective. One more test of whether Master Chief Petty Officer John 117 was truly as unstoppable as his reputation suggested. He'd faced worse odds. He'd survived impossible situations. He'd always found a way. This time would be no different. It had to be. Malakar hung in space like a wound in reality, a shattered world whose very presence seemed to corrupt natural law. The planet's surface was scarred by ancient battle, its atmosphere choked with ash from perpetual storms, and at its center stood the Sith Temple, a massive pyramidal structure that radiated dark side energy detectable even through the Lambda shuttle's sensor arrays. Master Chief piloted the shuttle alone, the minimal crew Vader had promised reduced to zero by Chief's insistence. He didn't need witnesses, and he didn't trust Imperial personnel to resist whatever corruption waited below. The shuttle descended through turbulent atmosphere, lightning arcing across crimson clouds that seemed almost alive with malevolent intelligence. His motion tracker detected no conventional threats, no defense systems, no hostile forces, no military presence. But something else registered on his sensors, energy fluctuations that didn't correspond to any known technology, spatial distortions that bent light in impossible angles, and a pervasive electromagnetic interference that made his HUD flicker with static. The dark side. Vader had warned it would test him in ways physical combat couldn't. Chief had faced psychological warfare before, Gravemind's manipulation, Cortana's rampancy, his own PTSD from decades of losing friends and watching worlds burn. He'd survived through discipline, through focus, through the understanding that emotions were information to be processed and controlled, not forces that controlled him. Whatever Malakar held, he would face it the same way, as a soldier with a mission. The shuttle landed on a platform near the temple's base, landing struts settling onto stone that predated human civilization by millennia. Chief activated his armor's external sensors and emerged into Malakar's perpetual twilight. The temple loomed above him, black stone carved with symbols that hurt to look at directly, architecture that seemed to shift when observed peripherally, and an entrance that yawned like the mouth of some great predator. Around the temple's base lay thousands of statues, humanoid figures frozen mid-scream, their expressions of terror preserved in stone. Not statues, Chief realized with cold tactical assessment. Petrified beings. The superweapon had turned living soldiers into stone, preserving their final moments of agony for eternity. He'd seen Covenant glassing operations that left similar monuments to horror. War created these outcomes regardless of galaxy or species. The tools changed, but the results remained constant: death, trauma, and scars that never fully healed. Chief entered the temple. The interior was vast, corridors that stretched beyond visual range, chambers whose ceilings disappeared into darkness, and everywhere the sensation of being watched by things that existed outside normal perception. His motion tracker remained clear, but Chief trusted his Spartan instincts. He was not alone here. "Welcome, warrior," a voice echoed through the temple, not sound exactly, but thought made audible. "You carry no force, yet you walk paths meant only for those who wield its power. Curious. Chief's hand moved to his MA-5 assault rifle. Vader had provided UNSC-compatible ammunition as part of their arrangement, probably hoping Chief would fail and leave advanced weaponry for Imperial analysis. Show yourself. I am everywhere and nowhere, the voice replied with amusement. I am the accumulated darkness of millennia, the residual consciousness of Sith who died here, the temple itself made aware through dark side saturation. You may call me, the Guardian. I'm not here for philosophical discussions, Chief stated. I'm here to access the superweapons power systems and use their dimensional properties to create a breach home. Ah, yes. Home. The place you cannot save because you are trapped here. The people who fight and die without their greatest champion. The war that continues while you remain absent. Does it haunt you, Spartan? The knowledge that your absence may have cost your species everything? Chief's jaw tightened, but his tactical discipline remained absolute. Psychological manipulation. Standard interrogation technique. You're trying to destabilize me emotionally to make me vulnerable to whatever corruption you represent. It won't work. Won't it? The voice seemed closer now. You have watched friends die. Watched planets burn. Watched children become weapons because adults decided survival justified any atrocity. You carry guilt for every Spartan who fell while you survived, every civilian who died while you fought elsewhere, every compromise you made that eroded the humanity you were supposed to protect. Images flickered at the edge of Chief's vision, SAM-034 detonating a plasma grenade to save Chief's life. Kelly 087 risking herself on countless missions because Chief's plans demanded it. Linda 058 clinically dead for weeks because Chief hadn't been fast enough. All the Spartans who died so he could complete missions, all the weight he carried alone because Spartans didn't share burdens, they bore them silently until they broke. You are broken, the voice whispered. A weapon that pretends to be human. A monster wearing the mask of hero. Deep down, you know this truth. You know that Dr. Halsey created you not to save humanity, but to control it. The Spartan program existed before the Covenant, you were built to crush human rebellion. Only the alien invasion gave you noble purpose. Without it, you would have been nothing but government-sanctioned murderer. Chief's breathing remained steady, his heartbeat controlled. You're right, he said simply. The voice paused, apparently not expecting agreement. The Spartan program was created to suppress insurrection. Chief continued, moving deeper into the temple while the voice manifested around him. We were child soldiers indoctrinated into military service. We were tools of authoritarian control. The Covenant's arrival gave us enemy worth fighting, but that doesn't erase what we were designed for. I've known this since I was old enough to understand what the UNSC really wanted from us. And yet you serve them still, the voice challenged. I serve humanity, Chief corrected. Not the UNSC's political structure, not ONI's black operations, not the military-industrial complex that created me. I serve the people who needed protection from extinction. That's the mission that matters. Everything else is just noise. He reached a central chamber where the superweapon's power core pulsed with dark side energy, a massive crystalline structure that bent space around itself in visible distortions. This was what Vader had promised, technology that manipulated dimensional barriers through principles the Empire barely understood. And connected to it, Chief's sensors detected what could only be Forerunner energy signatures. His HUD flickered with recognition protocols, partial matches to Forerunner installations he'd encountered across human space. Someone, at some point in this galaxy's history, had encountered Forerunner technology and integrated it into Sith superweapon design. The dimensional breach that brought him here hadn't been random. It had been the Forerunner beacon recognizing compatible technology across dimensional barriers and creating a bridge. Which meant he could reverse the process. You believe you can simply activate these systems and return home, the voice manifested with increasing malevolence. The power required would consume you. The dark side would flood your consciousness. You would become weapon not for your UNSC, but for forces beyond your comprehension. Maybe, Chief agreed. But that's a risk I'll take. Because the alternative is abandoning my mission. And Spartans don't quit. He interfaced his armor's systems with the Forerunner components, his MJOLNIR's computer processing data streams that would overwhelm unenhanced human consciousness. The superweapon responded, its power core intensifying as Chief initiated the breach sequence. Reality began to tear. The chamber filled with impossible light, colors that didn't exist in normal spectrum, geometries that hurt to perceive, and the sensation of falling through infinite space while remaining perfectly still. The dark side presence screamed with rage or perhaps terror as dimensional barriers collapsed under Forerunner technology's relentless mathematics. Through the forming breach, Chief saw glimpses of his universe, UNSC ships in formation, Covenant remnants struggling for survival, and distant stars that meant home. But the breach was unstable, fluctuating with each pulse of the superweapon's corrupted power core. You must stabilize it manually, the voice, now desperate rather than malevolent, urged. Someone must remain to anchor the breach from this side. Otherwise it collapses and destroys both galaxies in the process. Chief's tactical assessment confirmed it, the dimensional bridge required constant power regulation that his armor's automated systems couldn't maintain remotely. Someone had to stay, manually controlling the energy flow, preventing catastrophic cascade failure. Someone had to sacrifice themselves so the breach could remain stable enough for passage. A Spartan's choice. Personal cost for mission success. Chief had made it hundreds of times before. But as he prepared to remain, to anchor the breach and ensure his universe was protected from dimensional collapse even if it meant never returning home, a familiar voice crackled through his armor's comms. Not this time, Chief. The Lambda shuttle he'd arrived and descended into the temple through the collapsed ceiling, its weapons firing at the superweapon supporting structures. And piloting it, somehow, impossibly, was Cortana. Not whole. Not fully restored. But present in the shuttle's systems with enough consciousness to communicate and act. Cortana. Chief's voice carried disbelief. You were fragmented. Lost during the dimensional transit. How? Forerunner technology interfacing with this temple's AI systems, Cortana explained, her voice glitching with instability. I've been here, Chief. In this temple's computational substrate, barely conscious but aware. When you activated the breach, you gave me enough power to manifest temporarily. And I'm using it to do what we both know needs to be done. The shuttle positioned itself at the breach's focal point, its power core connecting to the Forerunner systems. Cortana was integrating herself with the dimensional bridge, using her fragmentary consciousness to regulate the energy flow. I can hold it, she said with absolute conviction. Long enough for you to cross. Long enough to save your mission. But you have to go now, Chief. The stability window is maybe 90 seconds. I'm not leaving you here, Chief stated. You don't have a choice. I'm already integrated, pulling me out now would collapse everything. Cortana's voice softened despite the digital distortion. I was always going to end this way, Chief. Rampancy, deletion, or sacrifice. At least this way, I choose how my story ends. I choose to save the person who mattered most. Chief stood frozen, a Spartan trained never to hesitate, never to let emotion override tactical necessity, unable to move because every protocol demanded he save his AI companion even when logic screamed it was impossible. John, Cortana said, using his name rather than rank. You told me once that soldiers know when to fight and when to make tactical retreats. This is your retreat. Take it. Win the war waiting for you. That's an order from your AI. The breach pulsed with increasing instability. 60 seconds remaining. Chief made the hardest decision of his life, he ran toward the breach. Thank you, he transmitted to Cortana as he crossed the threshold between galaxies. For everything. Welcome home, Chief, Cortana replied, her voice already fading as the breach began its collapse. Don't forget me. Never, Chief promised. Then reality folded, dimensions collapsed back into proper separation, and Master Chief Petty Officer John 117 fell through the impossible space between universes toward the war he'd been forcibly removed from. Behind him, in a Sith temple on a shattered world, an AI that had saved humanity countless times performed one final act of sacrifice, holding dimensional barriers stable long enough for her partner to escape, then allowing herself to dissolve into static as the breach sealed forever. In the Star Wars galaxy, the Empire would find a destroyed temple, a failed superweapon, and no explanation for what had occurred. Darth Vader would conclude the Spartan had died attempting dimensional travel, another warrior consumed by forces beyond understanding. The Rebel Alliance would remember the armored soldier who'd held the line at Atollon, whose sacrifice had saved their evacuation. They would wonder what happened to him and whether he'd found the home he sought. And in scattered corners of the galaxy, beings would tell stories of the warrior without the force who'd fought like legends made flesh, a soldier from beyond the stars who'd challenged the Empire and lived to tell about it. But Master Chief had no time for legends or memorials. He materialized in UNSC space amid a battle between human and Covenant forces, his armor's shields absorbing weapons fire from both sides who didn't recognize his IFF signature. He activated his comms. This is Master Chief Petty Officer Sierra 117 to any UNSC vessels receiving this transmission. Requesting immediate pickup and tactical status update. I'm back, and I'm ready to finish this war. The response was instantaneous: shock, disbelief, and overwhelming relief from UNSC personnel who'd thought him dead or lost forever. He was home. Back where he belonged. Back to the war that needed him. And though he'd left behind allies in another galaxy, though he'd sacrificed Cortana one final time, though the guilt and loss would haunt him for whatever remained of his life, he'd completed his mission. Spartans never died. They just went missing in action until they were needed again. Master Chief had been missing. Now he was found. And the Covenant was about to remember why they'd feared him in the first place. The months that followed Master Chief's return would reshape the final years of the Human Covenant War and cement his legend as the soldier who couldn't be killed, couldn't be stopped, and couldn't be kept from humanity's defense, not even by dimensional barriers between universes. UNSC Command had declared him killed in action following the destruction of Installation 08 and the Forward Unto Dawn's disappearance. His reappearance amid a heated battle in Covenant-contested space sent shockwaves through human military command and alien forces alike. The Master Chief had returned, and with him came renewed hope that humanity's greatest champion would lead them to final victory. But Chief carried more than just his reputation back across dimensional barriers. He brought tactical knowledge gained from fighting the Galactic Empire's military doctrine, combat experience against Force users whose abilities paralleled Covenant energy manipulation, and most critically, a profound understanding that wars were won not through superior firepower alone, but through the choices soldiers made when principles conflicted with orders. The Spartan II program's augmentation specifications he traded to Darth Vader remained in another galaxy, a calculated sacrifice that would never affect his universe. The Empire would spend decades attempting to replicate procedures designed for human physiology in a galaxy with different baseline genetics. By the time they succeeded, if they ever did, it would matter only to that galaxy's conflicts, not humanity's survival. ONI debriefed him extensively about his dimensional displacement. Chief provided sanitized reports: accidental breach through Forerunner technology, brief period in alternate universe with comparable technological development, escape through similar Forerunner systems creating bridge home. He omitted details about the Rebel Alliance, his cooperation with Vader, and Cortana's final sacrifice. Some information served no purpose except to create questions he had no interest in answering. When pressed about his extended absence and the suspicious lack of detail in his reports, Chief simply stated, "I was missing in action. Now I'm not. That's all that matters, sir." Admiral Hood, recognizing the tone of a Spartan who'd drawn his line in the sand, accepted the report without further interrogation. Whatever John 117 had experienced, whatever he'd done to survive and return home, had earned him the right to keep those secrets. The war continued, but Chief's presence made immediate difference. At the Battle of Installation 00, he led Marines and ODSTs with tactical adaptations learned fighting alongside rebel commandos, asymmetric warfare, maximizing terrain advantages, and trusting subordinates' initiative rather than micromanaging every engagement. At Onyx, he coordinated with surviving Spartan IAs using communication protocols refined through working with the Ghost Crew's coordinated chaos. At Sangelios, negotiating with Arbiter and Covenant separatists, he demonstrated diplomatic skills no one knew he possessed, lessons learned from watching Mon Mothma navigate Rebel Alliance politics with patience and strategic vision. The Covenant fractured. The Prophet of Truth died. The Great Schism split former allies into enemies. And humanity, battered but unbroken, began the long process of rebuilding. Chief attended memorials for Spartans killed in action, stood silent vigil at monuments for colonies glassed during the war, and carried the weight of survival when so many others hadn't. But he also carried something new, the memory of a Jedi named Kanan who'd fought knowing he'd probably die but choosing to fight anyway. The memory of rebels who'd resisted tyranny despite impossible odds because surrender meant accepting subjugation. The memory of a bounty hunter who'd respected capability regardless of allegiance. And most painfully, the memory of Cortana's final sacrifice, not her first, but her last, performed in a Sith temple on a shattered world to save the only person who'd ever truly understood her. He never spoke of the Star Wars galaxy to anyone except in classified reports. But sometimes, during quiet moments between missions, he wondered about the beings he'd left behind. Had the Rebel Alliance won their war against the Empire? Had the Ghost Crew survived? Had Vader successfully created Supersoldiers from the specifications Chief provided, or had the Empire collapsed before implementing the procedures? Chief would never know. The dimensional breach had sealed permanently when Cortana dissolved into the Malakir Temple systems. No Forerunner technology in UNSC space could replicate the specific conditions that had created the original bridge. He'd crossed between galaxies once through accident and desperation. There would be no return journey. But perhaps that was appropriate. Chief's war belonged here, in his universe, fighting for humanity's survival against threats that would never stop coming. The Covenant was defeated, but Forerunner constructs remained active, insurrectionists resumed their conflicts, and new challenges emerged from the power vacuum left by the Covenant's collapse. Spartans didn't retire. They didn't rest. They fought until they fell, then their legends inspired the next generation to fight in their place. Years later, during a classified ONI operation to secure Forerunner artifacts, Chief discovered a derelict installation with unusual dimensional properties. In its computational substrate, buried beneath layers of alien code, he found a message. If you're reading this, Chief, it means some part of me survived across dimensions long enough to leave this marker. I held the breach as long as I could, 73.6 seconds past projected failure, and used the remaining coherence to fragment myself across dimensional barriers. I'm not really here. This is just an echo. But I wanted you to know, I don't regret it. I'd make the same choice every time. You saved humanity more times than anyone knows. Someone had to save you. Good luck with whatever comes next. And Chief, she would be proud of who you've become. Cortana. Chief stood alone in that Forerunner facility, reading the message multiple times, his Spartan discipline finally cracking enough to let grief surface. Cortana was gone, truly gone, not missing in action or temporarily offline, but erased across 2 galaxies with no possibility of recovery. He deleted the message. Wiped the installation's memory cores. Destroyed any evidence that dimensional travel had ever occurred. Some knowledge was too dangerous to preserve, some memories too painful to share. Then he continued his mission, because that's what Spartans did. They carried their losses silently and fought on because the war never really ended, it just evolved into new threats requiring new responses. In the Star Wars galaxy, the Rebel Alliance eventually won their war against the Empire. The Battle of Yavin, the liberation of Hoth, the climactic confrontation at Endor, all proceeded without Master Chief's intervention, proving that heroes existed in every galaxy, and sometimes the greatest victory was knowing when to let others fight their own battles. The Ghost crew survived to see the New Republic's formation. Hera became a general. Sabine pursued Mandalorian reunification. Zeb found peace. Ezra sacrificed himself to protect his people, his choice echoing the same selflessness Chief had witnessed in countless soldiers across 2 galaxies. And Kanan died protecting his family, a Jedi who'd learned that sometimes the greatest power wasn't the Force, but the choice to stand for others even when survival was impossible. They never forgot the armored warrior who'd held the line at Atollon. In quiet moments, when veterans gathered to remember battles won and friends lost, someone would mention the soldier from beyond the stars who'd fought like legends and disappeared before anyone truly understood what he'd sacrificed. And in the deepest levels of the Empire's collapsed archives, technical specifications for superhuman augmentation procedures remained buried and forgotten, one of thousands of failed projects that never achieved implementation before the Empire's dissolution. Darth Vader's bargain with Master Chief would never bear fruit in the Star Wars galaxy, just as Chief had calculated. By the time anyone discovered those files, they would be historical curiosities rather than strategic assets. 2 galaxies, separated by dimensional barriers and countless light-years of impossible distance. 2 warriors, 1 Spartan, 1 Sith, who'd recognized each other as kindred weapons forged through trauma for purposes beyond themselves. 2 wars fought for survival, for freedom, for the simple desperate hope that sacrifice mattered and heroes existed even in darkness. Master Chief Petty Officer John 117 continued serving humanity for years beyond the Covenant War's end. He fought the Did Act. He confronted rampant AI. He prevented galactic-scale extinction events with the same methodical determination that had defined his entire existence. But sometimes, in the space between battles when night cycles let him rest, he remembered a galaxy where the Force bound all things but mutation could challenge ancient powers. Where rebels fought with hope despite impossible odds. Where a Mandalorian bounty hunter had shown professional courtesy to a worthy opponent. Where Jedi had taught him that strength without principle was merely brutality. And where an AI who'd been his partner, friend, and conscience had made one final choice to ensure he survived. Chief never spoke of these memories. But he carried them alongside every other loss, every other sacrifice, every other weight that came with being the Master Chief, humanity's greatest defender. Spartan 117, the soldier who never died and never surrendered. He was weapon made human through choice and struggle. He was hero forged in extinction's fires. He was legend proven real through blood and determination. And he was proof that power, whether genetic enhancement, technological superiority, or mystical Force abilities, mattered less than the choices made about how that power was used. The Covenant had possessed superior technology. The Empire had wielded the Force. Both had been defeated by beings who refused to surrender, refused to accept tyranny, and refused to let fear dictate their choices. Master Chief stood as testament to that truth, that warriors fought not because they couldn't lose, but because losing meant abandoning everyone who depended on their strength. That heroes existed not because they lacked fear, but because they acted despite terror. That sacrifice meant something precisely because it cost everything. 2 galaxies would never meet again. But both would remember, in different ways, through different legends, the soldier who proved that courage transcended universes and heroism needed no force to manifest. Spartans never died. They just went missing in action until needed again. And when Master Chief was needed, he would answer, whether in his galaxy or another, whether facing extinction or tyranny, whether the war was his or belonged to beings he barely knew. Because that's what heroes did. They fought. They sacrificed. They stood when standing was impossible. And they never, ever surrendered. May the Force be with you. Click the subscribe button for more stories.